Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Super Old Game Saturday. If it's a Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have classic gaming goodness or anyness to play, and tonight we're playing a unique game in one way because we talk about classic gaming on the show a lot, and I often come in here and give a sense of, okay, this is a game I grew up or played a lot. Tonight's going to be a little bit different of a case because I didn't necessarily grow up playing this game, but Electverse, a viewer of mine, who I appreciate his viewership and him coming up with ideas, he's often said to me, hey, there's some games I'd like to see represented that don't get to be represented. I tend to be that perspective too. So, yeah, he wanted to see Top Gear for the Super Nintendo from Kemco and developer Gremlin Games. So we have it tonight. So yes, you are looking at this 1992 Super Nintendo game that I own because of Mr. Electverse, and I thank him very much for that and for the suggestion. As I've mentioned before, chat, anytime you want to see a game of some sort, any kind, asking you shall receive. And tonight is going to be a case of that. In my case, I have not played this Top Gear game that much. This is a franchise of Kemco's that started on Super Nintendo in 1992 with this game. And it came out before Super Mario Kart, so you're seeing the way it's scrolling with its graphics. It is not utilizing the Mode 7 elements the Super Nintendo had. It's scaling sprites. Think something like Rad Racer on NES or Outrun from Sega. But yeah, if it came out a little before Mario Kart did, or Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, and this is how they're doing it. And of what I've played of it so far, I've had a good time with it. This is admittedly not going to be me showing a massive amount of skill, or even having a whole lot of memories of this Top Gear game, because there are 14 of them total. 13 after this one, because this was a sleeper hit, and it carved out a niche for Kemco as far as racing on this system. Of which the other two on this system were Top Gear 2 and Top Gear 3000. The 3000 one in particular is really expensive. Top Gear 1 is not, and 2 is, I think, maybe a little more, but not too bad. Yeah, as you're seeing down there, we're going to be playing this racing game. So we got 2 racing games in a row after Wave Race 64 last week, and now Top Gear, so here we are back at the title screen. That is using Mode 7, I believe, the rotation of the logo. And an interesting factoid, nowadays people know Top Gear as that television show with Jeremy Clarkson about cars. This has nothing to do with it. So, hit that start button, let's get started. Alright, now, this game does have a 2-player option. We're playing solo, or I'm playing solo anyway, so that's where we're at. It's going to be a solo run this way. Hopefully hitting all 32 courses in this. We'll see how that goes. But you also have skill levels you can select of amateur, professional, and championship. I have not played this game much, so we're going to amateur. Hopefully I'll play this decently. We'll see how this turns out. Also, you have countries. These are the countries that you have cups for, basically. So you have them set in United States, South America, Japan, Germany, Scandinavia, France, Italy, and the United Kingdom. Heyo, Electverse, good to see you. I am very happy to see you. Thank you very much again for suggesting Top Gear for Super Nintendo. I have it here. Hope you've been doing well. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight, and hope that I do decently, because as I've mentioned starting, I have not played this game that much. I mean, I only played it because of you, and I have you to thank for that. So I appreciate that, and for your viewership and everything you've been doing to add to the show. In a lot of ways, I've mentioned, the whole idea of the chat on the show adds to it. So I bought it under your recommendation. I've had a lot of fun playing it when I've been able to, but tonight we're going to go all the way with it. We're going to see how it goes. We're going to try and cover as much of this game as I can. And honestly, I'm going to defer to you a lot as far as your memories with this game and feasibly with this franchise. I have my memories with the franchise itself, but as far as this game, not as much, but I'm going to be happy to make a lot of memories. So, alright, so we're in the menu here. I'm going to start putting in name, and this is a case where we have 8 letters we can select for our name as opposed to the usual less. So we're going to name ourselves after the show again, but instead of SOGs, we're going to call ourselves Super OGS. So, SuperOgs. Alright, so, yeah, you do get to enter a name. You do have manual automatic transmission. I'm going automatic. I guess let me know, Electverse or chat, if you've played this game and also how you usually play this or any other things you might have as far as memories of it. Also, you have a selection of control methods. I was doing a little bit of a test play today, and this was something I found really interesting. The fact that there is an upside-down controller option. So yeah, the Super Nintendo controller, yeah, you usually hold it this way. You can hold it upside down feasibly and play it, I guess, feasibly going left-handed when you really think about it, which is kind of cool. So, alright, give him a lot of credit for thinking about that. I've only played this one a couple times. I have more memories of the second. Yeah, Top Gear 2, which was for Super Nintendo as well. And then there's also 3000 on this system. Yeah, but this is where the series started, and Kemco was able to cut a niche out with this, as far as racing, and also Gremlin Games, or Gremlin Interactive, as they were known, would go on to make the Zool games, as well as Loaded on the PlayStation, and later they became Infogrames Sheffield House, who go on to make Wacky Races on the Dreamcast, and Superman Shadow of Apocalypse for the GameCube and the PlayStation 2. But yeah, we do have these options as far as the controls, and I guess let me know then how this is based on the second one, because my experience with the Top Gear franchise is, well, this one now, but mostly with Top Gear Rally for Nintendo 64, the first one, which I was not a big fan of. And unlike this one, does not have music that makes me very happy, or that, well, it's decent quality, but man, it is funereal. And that is not an exaggeration. And Top Gear Overdrive, which was a racing game on the 64 as well, there's more of an arcadey take. Yeah, for the purpose of this, we're running Control Type D, because when I play racing games on the system, I tend to like using the B button for acceleration, Y is the brake, and A for the nitro. Alright, so with that, and we do get to select our car. We have the red car, which has high speed, but it uses fuel a lot. This one, which kind of looks like the DeLorean from Back to the Future when you see it at the back, where it has low fuel consumption and holds its grip, but it's pretty slow. It does accelerate decently. And then, so I think you're locked into your car when you select it, so I think what I'm going to do is... It does. Okay, gotcha. This is it. You're the expert. Even if your experience is more with the second game, my experience with this one and that one are not as much. So yeah, this is your show, and again, thank you very much for the request on this game, because as I mentioned, anytime anybody, you or anyone else wants to see a game, asking you shall receive, and we will see it happening as we go along. Alright, I'm going to take the not DeLorean, go in speed of miles per hour. You can also set to kilometers per hour feasibly, but yeah, let's get to this. Start racing. We're starting in Las Vegas. One thing I was noticing as far as this, well, first off, you have a split-screen element to this, kind of like Super Mario Kart did, where you have your screen on the top, well, in this case, at the bottom, you have the purple car, as I'm calling him. Monty UK wants to listen. Oh, hi, Dolly Finn. Good to see you. Glad to see you on the show tonight. We're playing Top Gear for Super Nintendo. And, yeah, this is definitely an interesting one, recommended by Electverse, and I'm glad for that recommendation. Thank you for stopping by to watch this, or hear this, classic game goodness. Alright, yeah, we are just racing around with ARG! Yeah, the car talks. Or feasibly, I guess if the cars are talking to the person in car talks. Yeah, driving around with these scaling sprite graphics. Not using Mode 7 for Super Nintendo, but I gotta say, for a game from 1992 with this kind of element, it looks really nice, and it's surprisingly smooth. Which you don't always get sometimes when it comes to this kind of scrolling for games like this. Let's go! Alright, yeah, hit the A button, by the way, that's your nitro boost. You have 3 of those per race. And you go in a certain element of laps. You start in 20th place each time and gotta get up to first and get that purple car. Not beating you, but yeah, the purple car, even on amateur difficulty, is pretty tenacious. But I do have extra nitro we can use. Alright, so let's see what's going down. And also, Electverse is hello, and hello again. Electverse, good to see you, and thanks again for this pick. Unfortunately, I lost the purple car. The good news is that for these races, I think it's a set of 4 or 5 or 6 courses for each. As long as you finish the top 5, you're good. I think you get a game over. If you don't, we might see game overs, because I'm not as familiar with this game as other things, but you get points going on. But unfortunately, computers are beating us as opposed to SuperOldGames, which is us. But, since we're in the US now, we'll continue with the next course. This is Las Vegas. Alright. And I do love the other thing, like that scroll up when we're coming up to the car, and also the fact that, yeah, you see the name you put in on the screen, so it does give a little bit more of a personalization. And as is one with the Top Gear games, you start in 20th place each time, you gotta work your way up to the top. And that's an element that went into the other Top Gear games. I mentioned my experience with, Top Gear Rally and Overdrive, and those are the same way. I believe in you. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, again, having a good time so far with this game. Just driving around. In some ways, it's... this is an interesting case, because I guess this is a case of usually... Alright, we know we're in Hollywood around LA, because there's the Hollywood sign right there. But usually a lot of cases, I'll come in and I'll say, okay, what is some experience I have in a game? Or I guess come up with some factoids, which in some ways I've kind of discussed a lot about that. Most of my discussion here is going to be, admittingly, on my knowledge of this franchise or what I've read. And honestly, it's a little different. This is going to be more controlled by chat, but I like doing that. I like playing a game that maybe I don't have a whole lot of familiarity with, but chat might, or that I have to kind of dig in, but also find out more about it myself. As I mentioned, this is a franchise that was 14 games long, and the last game in it was a game I didn't know existed until about a week ago called Top Gear Downforce, which is on the DS. I don't know if anybody in the chat's played this. I never even heard of it. But yeah, this franchise did go on for quite a bit of time, and I don't know necessarily if Kemco is thinking they want to go back to this, because Kemco is still around, but mostly they tend to do a lot of Japanese RPGs. I noticed on the Switch in particular, they got a ton of those that are around. But yeah, let's keep going, and yeah, okay, there's the green car crashed too, but yeah, the purple car is also getting in the way, and let's go! Or feasibly, I guess, with the car talking that way, with the let's go, you can just quote, let's go from any other game that has an element like that. By the way, you should also check out Horizon Chase Turbo, which is pretty much the 4th Top Gear game with the same composer. Yeah, I did notice some elements of that when I was looking into this. It was Barry Letch and Hiroyuki Masuno, I believe, who did the music for this game. And this game, interestingly enough, and I read about the Horizon Chase Turbo. I think I should take a look at that. You're right. I think that's on Switch. That's on a lot of the new systems. I think it's on PC as well. I've heard those Horizon games, those Horizon Chase titles are really a lot of fun. So in that case, I definitely want to take a look at that. I guess that is Top Gear 4. I mean, in some cases, you really think about that. I love that game. All right, so there's another recommendation and another one I will have to look into and get to at some point. And thanks for letting me know that. You're adding to the show, as I've mentioned, just for that very reason, especially on this one. Actually, going back to the same music composers as this is another thing I found as we're going to New York now, as far as our next race. This is a game that was made by only 6 people. I was very impressed to learn that. It was Richie Brannon, Ashley Bennett, Simon Blake, Paul Gregory, and as mentioned, the composers, which were Barry Letch and Hiroyuki Masuno. And yeah, 6 people only, but yeah, you wouldn't necessarily think that on the back of the quality of this game, because this is a pretty fun and technically impressive game, especially for when it came out. Yes, 6. I didn't believe it either, but I was still kind of surprised. And I guess that goes to the other thing, which is, and maybe the reason why this franchise took off the way it did, which was, well, okay, on Super Nintendo, the idea that, you know, getting racing games going and having them run nicely with the scaling elements that the Super Nintendo has built in, as opposed to the Genesis, where they do development tricks. But then the idea that, yeah, clearly this, I'm getting the sense just looking at this game and playing it as well, this is definitely a labor of love, I would say, on the part of the people who made it. And to think, yeah, to talk about the humble beginnings part, our concept, and that's definitely what this is, but with this, then we got a whole series of games that spanned a bunch of other systems, mostly on the Nintendo stuff. I mentioned we did Pitfall at the beginning of the year, when, like you mentioned, we wanted to see this. I talked about the Top Gear Pocket games on Game Boy Color, I talked about the Super Nintendo games to a degree, the Nintendo 64 ones, which there are 4 of them. There are 2 Top Gear Rally games, and Overdrive and Hyperbike, I've never played that one. But then there's also one on the PS2, actually there were 2 on the PS2, which were Top Gear Daredevil, which is a really early release for the system, and Top Gear RPM Tuning, which was on Xbox as well. But yeah, that passion of 6 people at Gremlin Entertainment getting together saying, hey, we want to make like this super scaling racing game and show what the Super Nintendo could do with this before Super Mario Kart came around. Yeah, you really do get that, and it does make it more impressive that, okay, yeah, how to do that, and when you think about game development today where it's many hundreds of people usually, the fact of, you know, such a small group of people, but also the idea that even if you have a small development team or a large one, you can make something really, really good in a lot of cases, and I get that really, really good here. Also, one other thing I guess I should mention, we're not going to deal with this right now, but, well, let's go, and bash back, or let's go, if we're going to go for SBO for Sonic Heroes. I guess I'll just do a different, let's go voice from gaming every time I do that. But yeah, on the right there is gasoline that you have to keep an eye on, but for the purpose of this course we were doing, we're fine with that. And we are in first place currently with 55 points, and we're going to San Francisco. Alright, here we go. This is where the gas concept's going to come in, because we have 6 laps on this one. Actually, this is another case that's interesting, because I played some racing games, and chat let me know this as well, where you have a pit stop concept to it in a racing game. Like Virtua Racing, I know Daytona USA has it. I know Automobili Lamborghini on the Nintendo 64 by Titus has a concept to that. But in a lot of those games, usually the kind of thing is if you take a pit stop, you're going to lose. Because, okay, you have to stop for, you know, getting your car repaired in the case of some of those, or getting other things going. And one thing on Automobili Lamborghini before I go on with this one that I did like is they actually make that interactive, where we use the analog stick to rotate, you know, get the tires on. In this game, what you do is when you're fuel's getting low, they'll give you a pit stop. There's, I think, tires. Okay, actually, this is the first course you're going to see that has, you know, signs up there, like warning, caution things. Don't hit into those, you'll get bounced back. But right coming up, there, yeah, where those tires are, I guess, barriers that are on the right, that's pit stop, and when your elements get low, or when your gas gets low, you're all set. So you replied to my comment, as far as the Wave Race 64 video, yes. Yeah, I thank you very much, again, for your, kind words as far as that on the YouTube site. I hope you're enjoying what we have on the YouTube site, and what we've done over the past couple weeks, which were the return to Super Mario RPG, Tails Adventure for Supersonic Game Saturday, and Wave Race 64, which I had a lot of fun with last week. And it's good to see you again. Oh, okay, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could crash into the side of the, you know, the checkpoint or the lap gate. But there you go. And as I said, it kind of shows the idea of what this game is doing technologically. That is very impressive. And I'm glad that you're enjoying what we have going on the show, and hope you're enjoying what you're seeing tonight. We'll see how I can do with this, because so far, yeah, I'm not doing great. I'm in 6th place. I think you have to be in at least 5th in order to go on, but I think we'll go on. I haven't watched all of them yet. Yeah, well, they're there for whenever you or anybody else in the chat wants to see them. I mean, the idea is we're having the show right now. We're playing the games that you want to see, or that I want to show you, or both. And later they go up to the YouTube site with edits to make them more interesting to watch, or to correct when I make mistakes, because I often make mistakes, I'm not going to lie, when it comes to stuff on the show. But, yeah, and I know you wanted to see Shinobi 3 in particular. I'm sorry you weren't there for that one, but we had a great time, and hopefully you'll enjoy what came of that game, because that was a great one to be able to go to. And I'm looking forward to all the other ones that we'll go to in the next couple of weeks, and anything else you want to see. And Horizon Chase Turbo is one I definitely will keep an eye on, for sure. Alright, so we got 2 laps left. The one thing I noticed is, again, the cars, they have different elements as far as fuel and things. Actually, there goes the purple car into the pit stop. How that works, by the way, is that when you go in the pit stop, your fuel is getting low. But here's the interesting about this, and I like this concept a lot. So it really gives you a lot of strategy as far as the pit stop, is you can wait for the fuel gauge to go all the way up. Or you can say, okay, I have 2 laps left. I only need a half a tank. So as soon as you hit that accelerator, you come out. So you can strategize saying, like, okay, do I need to really get all that gas back? And how do I manage a position? Like, for example, in this case, because I have a car with a low fuel consumption, I should be able to get to the end without needing to take a pit stop. And again, that's another risk you could feasibly take. You could say, oh, I have enough to get to the end of this, or not feasibly. And I think, I don't know if this is correct or not, chat, correct me if this is not the case. Weird enough, I'm doing automatic transmission. I think the computer, or the purple car, always does manual. And I don't know if the manual has worse gas consumption. That might be something we'll also look into later. Okay, that blue car, I don't know if that's ahead of me. He might, well, okay. Oh, no! Okay, did I go through that? Yeah, I did go through it, okay. So that's the benefit also of having the capture device over there on the screen, so I can look and see. There's enough of a delay, as I've mentioned. So when that happens, I can look and see, like, oh, something weird happened? What was that? Alright, I got beaten by Paul and Richie. Oh, okay, I get it now, because developers of the game, alright. In fact, yeah, I'm just trying to see if everybody from this game, all 6 of the people who made it, are there. But, alright, we finished the first, race. Alright, we qualify for the next country, and they give you passwords in between, so Moonbath. Alright, I got my nice, champagne there. Alright. So, first place, on points at least. And you're going to them right away. Alright, so we're going to Brazil now. So next is Rio de Janeiro. So you're going worldwide when it comes to this racing game. And I get the sense, and chat, let me know if that's the case for the other Top Gear games you might have played, that I think that's the idea of what a lot of the Top Gear games tend to be all about. The idea that usually it's a racing game you can kind of pick up and play, and I mentioned the Top Gear Rally games where they kind of go rally racing to a certain extent. But that idea of that, and then also, I guess, to quote Dr. Seuss, oh, the places you'll go. You go a lot of different places all around the world. Some are real places. I know Top Gear Rally, they were not. But then other cases, or woohoo! Yeah, you feel heavy metal indeed. Go back to the 90s. Cake. Or, let's go! You had to go back to Wave Race 64 last week. Although I don't know any other Let's Go's I have outside of that one or Sonic Heroes. Moonbath. Yeah, do you know the perspective of what they mean by that? That I'm not sure. But yeah, that is the password, so... And that brings up an interesting point then. Usually nowadays you have saving in games. There are not many games that have password saves anymore, and usually the idea they put it in either because they couldn't get in I didn't mean to take the pit stop. Actually, in that case then, let's use the, just hit B and come right out of it. Perfect, okay. So yeah, even if you go on the pit stop by accident, you can kind of handle that. But yeah, I know there are a lot of the other games I played at the time where some of them, when they'd have passwords, sometimes it'll just be a random set of characters, sometimes they'll spell a word out. So you can actually feasibly, depending on the game, you can kind of guess a password even if you don't know it, particularly when it's based on a license. Like, I know there were passwords in, like, a lot of the games based on cartoons. I have the Rocko's Modern Life game. They're ones that are actually, like, words that come out of stuff for the show, of, like, O-Town and things like that. So that's a password for something. So, like, oh, yeah, you know the setting of that from that show. You can put the password in and go to the 3rd level on hard for that one. At some point, I think we'll show that game off just because it's an interesting concept. Or weird concept, and we've got some interesting cases to that. Then it's also the only game to be specifically based on that television show that came out. I mean, there are references to that show and other ones, characters, and some other stuff, but as far as specifically based on it, that was it. But as far as Moonbath with this game, yeah, I don't know the context of it, although feasibly when I could put this on the YouTube site, I might look into that and say, like, oh, maybe there's some significance to that. But if you let me know, if you know, chat, let me know, and we will have the discussion. And anything else you want on this game, this franchise, racing games in general, or other games you might be interested in seeing or have been playing. Definitely there's a wide world out there of games, and that is the appeal of the show, or that's what I want to do with the show. I'll play what you want to play, I'll play what I want to play to show people games that maybe they might not have played, or just take some favorite requests and remember our memories. And I like the idea of even making memories of something like this. One thing I will say right away, as far as what my feelings on the game, what I'm playing is, I mentioned the graphics as far as the scaling, which is pretty smooth for what it is with the technology of it, and not using the Mode 7, and also the nice use of hills. So like you're going up and down, as opposed to like the Mode 7 stuff where it's usually flat. Although usually those are a little smoother, but still, for this, like, yeah, I can imagine this being really, really choppy. There are some games on Super Nintendo that have elements like this that are way choppier than this, so you gotta give them credit. And that early into the system's life, and go. Actually, yeah, Purple Car is pretty far behind comparatively, but yeah, I'm far behind who's winning. Oh, and I'm out of Nitro. Alright, and you only get 3 of those in a race. They will come back in between races. You can't replace them otherwise. And one other thing I'll also say is I do like the music on this. As I mentioned, it was by Barry Lech and Hiroyuki Masuno. And it has this very upbeat kind of, you know, I guess Super Nintendo-ish style to it. It's definitely better than the stuff in Top Gear Rally, which sounded very, very sad. And I'm not gonna lie, I'll sort of tell a personal story. I was going through a lot of personal trauma in my life when that came out in 1997. So imagine my surprise when I played this game and you hear this really, you know, very sad piece of music playing as you start. I'm like, I don't know if this fits for a rally game. Maybe it's good on what it is. It was like, yeah, for me personally, hearing that did not make me feel good. I was like, I don't know if I even want to play this because I don't want to listen to the music. But I also don't want to turn off the audio completely either, so it's kind of a weird case. This game looks so smooth. Yeah, for 1992 especially, and for what they're doing. And that's the interesting thing about Gremlin as a company. Because I was going back to looking through some of the other stuff they did, and they've got a massive back catalog of things they were doing, particularly on like early PC and Commodore 64 and things like that, and later stuff on PlayStation and Dreamcast, and also on this system. But there's something about a lot of the games that I've seen of theirs, or some I've played, that there is a technical mastery in a lot of ways, even for the kind of games that they are. And I remember actually, let's go to Wacky Races, which was on the Dreamcast, and it came out on PS2 in Europe, which is based on the Hanna-Barbera television show, and that they went cel-shaded with that game as far as the graphics, and that was before Jet Grind Radio or Jet Set Radio came out for Sega. So I don't know, either they copied them or they thought, hey, let's do this style. And for the purpose of taking a cartoon and putting it that way, people were saying like, oh, perfect. But it was also really smooth, particularly running on the Dreamcast itself, as it was. So I get the sense when it comes to a lot of the stuff Gremlin's done, they really have a idea of what they want to do technologically speaking, along with making it look appealing in a visual sense as well, as far as the colors and even some of the, like, the scrolling things. Like, I could imagine a game like this feasibly being so choppy that it's like, yeah, it becomes disorienting or perhaps maybe makes you nauseous, but I don't get that out of this one. And there's something to be said about that, especially for, as I said, how early this came out, because, okay, this is the 29th anniversary of this game this year, kind of an odd number to put it on, but 30 years next year for this one, and even coming into it this year, playing it for the first time, I still have to say to myself, yeah, this is pretty impressive to me. I mean, even putting myself back into 1992's mentality, but also just seeing this and saying, yeah, this is appealing to come back to. And sometimes the idea that, hey, you play a game that's older, it's not always easy to come back to. And racing games can be notorious for that. Like, something that looked pretty decent at the time maybe doesn't look as good or play as well later. And this game, no. It really is something that seems like it's kind of weirdly timeless. Ooh. And I do see chat. I will answer you in just a second, or both of you there. Let me just get going. As long as I'm holding 5th, I'm okay with this. 2 nitros. Basically, just wait for a straightaway. Actually, we're coming up on a straightaway, so perfect. Alright, Jet Radio. Why does that sound familiar? That was the Japanese name, or no, that was the American name of Jet Set Radio, the Sega franchise. They named it Jet Radio here because I think there was a licensing reason with the term Jet Set Radio, I think. So they called it Jet Radio, was on Dreamcast, and then what happened was that later when they made Jet Set Radio Future, its sequel, they were able to have that name, and then I think every other version of Jet Grind Radio, except the Game Boy Advance version, went by the Japanese name, which was Jet Set Radio. Which people were saying, like, it was known Jet Set Radio, so why was it not called that here? So that was the reason as to why. Like the dialogue speech bubble comments. Yeah, and that's the other thing I was noticing too. It gives a game like this a lot of personality. You're thinking, well, I've mentioned this sometimes before. How much personality does a racing game necessarily have when it's not like a kart racing game? Like I mentioned Wacky Races was a kart racing game, or the Mario Kart games. But something like this, it gets you the sense that, oh yeah, there's somebody in that car who's saying things, and they're kind of getting, into all these things going on when they're either crashing or they're doing a dash with the nitro. So it gives it a lot of life, and I can get the sense of why people looking at this or watching me play this or seeing this, they're like, oh, you'd remember something like that. It's oftentimes a lot of the little things. Like, how do you remember some aspects of a game? Sometimes it's just the little things that other racers didn't do. Like, the idea is like, oh yeah, you're just driving in a car. In some ways you could think, well, that's all you really need, but then a game like this comes along and says, okay, let's do something a little different with it. Even something as simple as, let's have speech bubbles when you crash into stuff, or like bounce back on the cacti there. Ooh, no. Which is definitely different than something like the Cruisin' games, which were arcade games and then ported to N64, where you just, when you hit something, they're all flat, so they just get flattened by your car. And actually, that's another interesting case, because I mentioned we did the Mid-American Treasures a couple months ago, the Cruisin' Blast game that was in the arcades. They're porting that to Switch. I said it was rumored at the time. They announced it. It's coming out in September, and it's a $40 game. So I'm like, yeah, I want to get that. Especially because it might potentially be the first arcade-perfect port of a Cruisin' game. Because those 3 on N64 were not perfectly ported, the things they took out. But Cruisin' Blast, I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see in September when that drops. I mean, September is going to be a pretty packed month as far as games that I want to buy, so I'm going to be potentially broke at that time. Or, well, not broke, but it's like, well, I'll have to control myself feasibly with it. I mean, there's WarioWare pulled together, or Get It Together, I should say. There's the Diablo 2 remaster that's coming out. There's the Cruisin' Blast release. Well, Metroid Dread is October, but there's a lot more, I think, even like in the September range. Like, oh yeah, that's coming out. Oh yeah, Sonic Colors Ultimate is out in September as well. So, a lot of things, or, there we go with the Let's Go. I guess, I said the Sonic Heroes case, the Wave Race 64 case, or Let's Go. I guess, Falco from Star Fox 64, because he says let's go at some point. Alright, we have 3 laps. And that's the other thing that's interesting about this game. It does not tell you necessarily how many laps you have as you're driving, but honestly, I'm kind of okay with that because you are going around the course quickly enough that you'll eventually hit the next lap. It's like, oh, I have like however many left. And even like that idea of it popping up right there of, where is your positioning, but it does show that down there because that is kind of pertinent. Alright. And also that music, again, I do really like it. Okay, 2 laps, perfect. And as I said, the laps are short enough, you're not going to be wondering for too long, oh, why is there, Or why am I not seeing how many laps I have left? Although it does say at the beginning, so basically, I guess like any driving element or driving game, pay attention and you should be set. And also use the brake, because that's the other thing with this game, or in the words of Star Fox 64, use the brake! Because a lot of times me, when I was growing up with racing games, I just hold that gas down and never use the brake. But a game like this, actually a lot of these scaling games like this and Outrun and Rad Racer, you kind of need to use the brake because otherwise you're going to crash into stuff. Although, admittingly, in this game, unlike something like Outrun, you don't get penalized too badly. You get bounced back. It's like not like, oh, you're stopped and you have to wait a couple seconds before you get yourself set. Alright, they say I can take a pit stop. I'm gonna risk, because I think we're on last lap. But yeah, I can do that. I can say, oh, we're gonna risk that. Although if I run out of gas, it's gonna be a bad case. Oh no, don't want to go off-road yet. Well, not in this game. Because I mentioned Top Gear Rally 1 and 2 were the off-road cases, and I think Top Gear Hyperbike on Nintendo 64 was that way. Though I never played it. Damn, I really got far out. In fact, even Purple Car's second, and... wow, he's still going. Okay. Perfect excuse to be able to sit back and drink some water. Alright. So there we go. 20 points. So yeah, I was about 15 seconds ahead of the competition, but yeah, we're doing okay. And next we are going to the rainforest of Brazil, which looks like there's a lot of twists and turns. So this takes, and there are 32 courses. That's the other thing about this game that's kind of interesting from what I've seen, which is that they have as many courses in this as they do. In fact, actually, that's more courses than Super Mario Kart has. Because Super Mario Kart only has 20. Oh no, 24 if you count the battle mode stuff. As far as the Super Nintendo, oh, save the trees, okay. Alright, well, we are in the rainforest, so there you go. I guess fair enough, fitting, because, hey, there are trees here. So, I guess this is the rainforest. Okay, now we're in the rainforest. There we go. But yeah, sparse trees in the rainforest, so yeah, there you go. Oh, ouch! Okay, so yeah, the car is sentient, or the person in there is saying ouch, which is a massive understatement when you're crashing into a sign. Thoughts on what Nintendo had at E3 this year? Yeah, there was a lot of things that came out of E3. I'm gonna say I think they won E3 with some of the stuff that they announced. I remember when we were doing the E3 stuff, or looking at it briefly back in June, with the one thing that had happened when we had the show at the time. There were things I found that were kind of interesting, but then the question was, okay, what are the major console manufacturers going to have? Out of Microsoft, I found some interesting stuff. The fact that Psychonauts 2 is coming out really quickly. It's actually next month. And also, Age of Empires 4. I cannot wait for that. That's coming out in October. That looks incredibly great. But Nintendo, it seems like it's one thing after another. Even with, it was a while ago, I know. Yeah, I know, but of course, we can, get into that. Whatever you want to get into the show, we can get into. Yeah, especially if we haven't covered it. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess, yeah, save the trees, but yeah, save my car feasibly from crashing into it. But yeah, let's go through that then. I mentioned WarioWare Get It Together, the new WarioWare game, which I'm glad to see another one of those, because I was thinking, I didn't know if WarioWare Gold on the 3DS sold, but apparently it did, and it's like, yeah, because I always just love that weirdness of that game, and how, self-effacing and, knowing about the gaming industry that it is. Oh, I'm final lap, and I'm in 12th place, and that's not good. So we might potentially see some bad cases here, but we'll see if I can get this going. I think one of the big things I was kind of surprised to see also was Metroid Dread, which was a new 2D Metroid by Mercury Steam, the people who made Samus Returns. And the idea, it's another 2D one, the first original 2D Metroid game since the Samus Returns game, and apparently going to end Samus' saga, at least as we've known. So that looks terrific. There's... oh, right, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is going to be exclusive on that system. I mentioned Cruise and Blast. I was expecting Advance Wars, right. Advance Wars, the remaster on Advance Wars, which, that's Way Forward who's developing that, which I found very interesting. Yeah, seeing that come back from the Game Boy Advance, because that's a game that costs a lot on that system now. Both of them. So to see that come back, that's going to be a nice case. Yeah, I did not get a good place. I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not for me. Sorry, you failed to qualify for the next race. Alright. And with that, well... okay, so it's a game over, so we have to use the password. Okay, well, Moonbath is the password, so we'll be able to see that going. But yeah, I was not expecting the Advance Wars either. There are a lot of things, I think, out of that I was really excited to see happen out of this. And, okay, I just want to make sure I was hitting start. It was going through. Alright, so let's put the password in. By the way, how to do that is you go into country, you select... Okay, so just show which ones you have. So let's do South America, or... Okay, you have to hit A for this one. Oh no, that's an amateur, country, South America, and... Oh wait, did I do it? Oh wait, maybe you have to... Oh, okay, hang on. Okay, because I unlocked it and because I didn't reset the console, I can just go right into it. Oh, but I have to start at the beginning, so we're going back to Rio. But more time for the discussion. Yeah, I liked a lot of what those things were that were coming out on Nintendo, and I think just the idea that it was something I'd like to try when it comes out. Yeah, it's funny, because I've never played the Advance Wars games. I was very curious about them at the time. So like, okay, this seems like interesting. Are you blind? Oh, I guess I am. What the heck? All right, going back to Star Fox 4. Okay, that's interesting. I did not know that. So I'm my car, but yeah, we don't have purple car anymore. We have red car. All right, so there we go. I would like to try it too, especially because those advanced games are expensive, and outside of the Wii U Virtual Console, which just have them for $8 a pop, that's really your only other option to play them affordably. But yeah, I mean, that was an interesting case when that came out, because that was even before Fire Emblem came out in the US. And it's the same people who made Fire Emblem. It's Intelligent Systems. And always that style of how it looked. And it seemed like kind of this more stylized and cartoony look, I guess, at a war strategy game. Kind of like, and we mentioned this before on the show, Valkyria Chronicles from Sega and Overworks. It almost looked like something like that in terms of being this tactical kind of game that has this kind of anime, colorful style, which is very unique. Ooh. Oh yeah, oh right, thank you for reminding that. Excited that Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania is out in October. Yeah, I did think of you the minute I saw that they announced that, because I know you're like, boy, I wish they hadn't remastered, or I didn't want to see a remaster on Banana Blitz from the Wii. I like the Deluxe game, and 1 and 2. Well, this is 1, 2, and Deluxe. Everything from it is going to be in it. And it's coming out on all the systems. And that's one of those cases, I think I'm going to buy the Switch version of that specifically because I mentioned this widget, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. For me, I liked using the analog stick on the GameCube to play the Super Monkey Ball games I played, or 2 in particular. And the Switch does have the GameCube controller adapter thing, so you can play GameCube with that no problem. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go on Switch, and I don't get the sense that, unlike some of the Sonic games, that there's going to be a question on how frame rate's going to work on the Switch, because that's also my thing with Sonic Colors Ultimate. They announced a 60 FPS frame rate for this remake of a Wii game from 11 years ago on everything but the Switch, and I was like, I think the Switch is a little more powerful than that, and it goes back to what I often say, which is that usually Sonic doesn't catch a break, but with, on the Switch anyway. But with Super Monkey Ball, I think it was 60 FPS on Switch for the Banana Blitz, because one of my coworkers got the Switch version, I got the Xbox One version of that, and it did run at 60 FPS on that system, so yeah, I think this one will go that as well. I think I've seen it running that way, so for that reason, as well as the controller element that it has on Switch, yeah, I'm totally gonna get the Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. In fact, I don't have the Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. In fact, I was gonna get Super Monkey Ball Deluxe since you were saying like first you wanted to see it. I'm just gonna get I'll get Banana Mania. We'll play that one, because then it'll give everything that we had, and yeah, that'll be how it's gonna work. I'm low on gas. I think I do need a pit stop, and he's in 7th place. But yeah, I did think of you on that, and I guess there you go. We did get the Banana Blitz first. Like, yeah, we didn't want that, but I guess I remember the guy who heads that franchise said feasibly the success of Banana Blitz HD will determine what they're going to do with the series next. And I guess there we go. We have the re-releases, remakes of 1, 2, and Deluxe, and I guess feasibly then, I guess it's showing, or Sega's seen, I guess people want the Monkey Ball games, and feasibly get a brand new one, because it's been, the last brand new one I think was the 3DS game, and the last new one on console was the Step and Roll, which used the Wii's balance board. But yeah, that was another one that did come out of Nintendo, even though it's on the other systems. But again, made it so that you kind of maybe want to get it on the Switch specifically, or even the stuff that's exclusive. As mentioned, Shin Megami Tensei 5. I have a lot of coworkers who are ecstatic that's coming out. They bought Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the re-release of that came out earlier this year, about a couple months ago, and they're saying, like, yeah, I want to be ready for when this drops. So yeah, a lot of good things that came out of Nintendo particular. Oh yeah, and the first thing I guess we saw of Nintendo, which actually was the Ubisoft, that was the Mario and Rabbids sequel, which looks really nice. Even though there's not much gameplay of it yet, it's not due till next year, that looks terrific. And especially sounds terrific, because you have Greg Kirkhope of Banjo-Kazooie doing the music, and he did this great remix of the of Rosalina's Observatory from Super Mario Galaxy. And, generally speaking, I've mentioned Greg Kirkhope on the show with the Castle of Illusion remake, and Banjo-Kazooie and some other stuff, and Perfect Dark. So yeah, he knows what he's doing when it comes to music stuff. So I'll be excited to see what he's got for the Mario & Rabbids game. And I guess play the first one, because I never played it, but I know people have and said it's great. Alright, next up we're in Machu Picchu. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, because I was even saying to some people today, I was talking to some people I've seen family as well today, and I was mentioning that it seems like it's been forever ago, even though I mentioned E3 was only about a month and a half ago, or like back in May or something when we were going to talk about some of the stuff. It's like, that feels like it's not been like 1 or 2 months. It feels like it's been, I can say 1 or 2 years, but it feels like it's been a while. I mean, even last week, it's like, okay, I did Wave Race 64 last week, but even that, it feels like it's been longer than a week. But either way, here we are with the show this week, and I do love the fact that we're putting the show on this week, or each week, feasibly, except if I'm going to take a a break from it or take a week off. But if that happens, I tell you. I will not say like, oh yeah, we're going to do that, and then the show goes away and you don't know what happens, unless say an emergency happens. But in this case, then I'll explain later and profusely explain and or apologize. But for now, we got our Top Gear game going, and it is a very nice one to be going with. And hopefully we can get out of the rainforest next time. I mean, in a lot of ways, I guess this is an interesting case of a game to talk over, I guess, because in a lot of ways, alright, it's a racing game, you're seeing what's going on, and some of the elements to be explaining, but also seeing the different sites, which is, I think, the appeal of this, and get going on with the chat side of things as well. And also, I guess, go into some of the elements I'm going to be doing in the future with the other streams, which I guess next week... Okay, actually, we're keeping the Super Nintendo out this week. Or for next week as well, because we're doing Part 3 of Super Mario RPG next week. We're in Land's End, and we'll see what we're going to get to at the end of next week. And then, for Super Sonic Game Saturday, sorry, I had to get that out sometimes, or have to get it out now. We're going to do 2 weeks consecutively. We're doing Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast across the first 2 weeks of August. And then actually, the week after that, I have nothing planned, so... Chad, if you want to see something specific for that next week, let me know, and we can do that. And then Mario RPG for the 4th part. I think with Mario RPG, just to go back to that one quickly, I think that's going to be probably 5 or 6 parts, so I think we probably finish that September, maybe October, as far as showing off everything. But I do like 4 or so hours a pop whenever I do that one, so that should be good for that. All right, 3rd place, I'll take that. I guess we'll also see feasibly as they're going along with this one, which is... Do I necessarily... Okay, I am first, but do I necessarily need to be first at the end to go to the next circuit, which I guess so. Alright, Chichen Itza, I think. That is in Mexico. Actually, wait, I'm trying to think of something. Did I already go through the rainforest and didn't notice it? I don't know, we'll see. Alright, there we go. I'll say one other thing, I guess, going about this game and the idea of starting at the back of the pack in 20th place. It gives you a bit of an urgency to try to get to the front of the pack to win. And it definitely gives you a good sense of that because of the sensation of speed, which is terrific. And actually, I guess I'll go back to bashing Top Gear Rally on Nintendo 64 again. The thing about that game, on top of what I mentioned with the music, which is not... Look, that's not necessarily a completely fair criticism in terms of saying, oh, the game is bad because of that. That's not the reason. In the case of that game, you feel like you're going so slow. It says you're going 90 miles per hour, but oftentimes it looks like you're going like half that. So it seems like, yeah, I'm not really going that fast going through it. You don't get the speed you're going through this, and they have like a mode in that where you're going 20th place just like this, but it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh yeah, I gotta be really careful going to that. And that's despite the fact that they put in, at the time, remember they're saying the physics engine, which I think was basically about kind of reflecting actual like dynamics and suspension models of cars, but oftentimes you still were kind of bouncing too much all over the place, so it didn't always work out. Though that game did have one thing that I still kind of miss in games. I don't know many other racing games that did this, and it was a great idea, the paint shop, where basically it gives you the options to paint your car, but it's not just, oh, you change color of your car. You paint every aspect of it. It's basically Mario Paint, pretty much. You just paint your car whatever you want to have on there, and then save it to a controller pack. In fact, I remember there was an issue of Nintendo Power, and I probably will try and see if I can't find... I think I might have the issue where that happened. They had a contest of people saying, hey, give us your best artwork for that, and we'll show you. I think there was one person who did... They did one based on Yoshi's Story, and it looked pretty amazing, and another one who did one based on The Lion King, the movie. Or I think they even said they called it, instead of, like, the Mazda Miata, they called it the Hakuna Miata. So I was like, oh yeah, there you go. So that is one thing about that game I will give it credit, which is... Yeah, you can go in the paint shop and just paint every aspect of your car, and I can't really even think of many other racing games that do that. I mean, I know some games that have, like the livery concept, like, as far as, like, other rally games. I know, like, the Dirt franchise of Codemasters does that. But being able to paint every aspect of the car, that's pretty nice. Then again, it doesn't really have much to do with the gameplay, but it's still something that is unique. And I do remember that as far as something that's, I can say, good. So it's like, I try to be holistic when I talk about games, even ones I don't like. It's like, well, I'll sometimes try to be charitable, but it's like, well, if they have serious problems with certain things, I'm not necessarily going to be sugarcoating that either. So it's like, yeah, I try to balance that. There we go, we're on final lap, and I think I should be able to handle with the gas going as we go along. And I guess going back to the thing with the courses, I like the variety of the courses as far as where we're going and also the layout. So, okay, yeah, there is the pits there, but we're not taking them. Because we can get to the end without it. Because I do want to win. I guess the other thing now I'm noticing, this going back to the pit thing, is that I do like the idea that the computer will take it. Because usually sometimes you have that, like, either you don't have to take it, or the computer doesn't take it. So this game, it's kind of a nice thing to that. There we go, we won. Let's see what's next. Alright, here is the rainforest. Okay, so I was actually pretty far into this, so, alright, I don't want to screw up this time. Actually, wait a minute. Is this the rainforest? Oh, okay, no, it is the rainforest, because it starts that way, and then we go in the desert, or the, I guess, deforested area, and those Save the Trees signs. They're going to be the death of me, but I gotta keep going. Yeah, I'm noticing now the curves are getting way tighter. So, yeah, again, I have to slow down. Oh, no, ouch. Yeah, ouch indeed. Yeah, I'm using my nitros too much. That's probably a bad thing to be doing, too. Yeah, okay, it's a lot wider as far as the road here. And that's the other thing I'll also say about this game, because even in a lot of the games like this that I've mentioned, that I've played, like with the scaling elements of that, I don't tend to get the sense that the road is necessarily that large as far as, hey, it's changing as I go along. I mean, Outrun kind of did that, but even then it was kind of limited, because it's basically just when you're taking a different fork in the road. Whereas in this one, like, oh, you go to certain areas of the track you're on, sometimes it's wider or more narrow, and I do like that perspective. Okay, so alright, it's not just me hitting the Save the Trees signs. Even the red computer car is getting into the act. But if nothing else, it does keep you on your toes and makes you want to see what's coming next. Alright, so we're getting to 8th now, so we're all set. We're getting closer. Okay, this is getting a little choppier, although again, I kind of get it now because there is a lot on screen, and again, even with that, it's still running very smoothly. I can imagine games will chug horribly, and I mentioned stuff like, I'm trying to think what there was on Super Nintendo that did that, where it just feels like, oh man, it's going ridiculously slow, but this game, no, it's still holding it very nicely. Actually, I guess in some ways a lot of the Super FX racing games, like Stunt Race FX and Dirt Tracks FX, or even, the port of Race Driving for this thing, oh my god, that's a disaster as far as how it is, although that's a 3D polygonal racer, but still, the Super Nintendo couldn't handle that, clearly. Well, then again, not many consoles can handle that game. In a lot of cases, I don't even know if the arcade can handle that particularly well. I mean, you know there's something weird when one of the better ports of it, weirdly enough, is on the Game Boy. You think, like, how can this 3D polygonal game be done on Game Boy? And the answer is, well, they somehow found a way to do it. Sorta. Even if though it's limited as anything. But, okay, yeah. Okay, he has a low fuel as well. Alright, let's use that to go 6th. Okay, I got 8th. Hopefully that's gonna be okay. I'll say this. If I end up... Okay, I'm on the line. Okay, so maybe I just have to be in the top 10. I thought I had to be in the top 5. Oh, again. Alright, here's what I'm gonna do. Because I don't want to make this repetitive with me playing the same race again. If I fail on this next one, I'm going to put a password in for the next one. Because I'll show this briefly before we go back and try one more time with this. And that is, if you go to country, say the next one is Japan, they give you the password to put in, but I don't know what it is, so I'm going to... Or I don't have it up on me now. So I guess that's one thing I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get the passwords ready to go on this, in case I have to use it. I don't want to, but if I have to, I will do it. Just for the purpose of showing off this game and keeping the variety going. So that you're not seeing the same race over again. Yikes. This looks difficult. Yeah, I guess it is only because of how, you know, twisty the road gets to get on that rainforest track. That is the death meat. The one thing also, I'm going to hit the select button. Select button is the pause button, by the way, just for the purpose of that. But, yeah. I just wanted to do that just to showcase that off, and so I could at least get that going. But yeah, let's get back to the race. Yeah, I don't want you to just wait. It's weird when with the pauses on select as opposed to start, but yeah, there you go. Yeah, this is even on amateur. Not that this is necessarily, you know, an unfair game. In fact, that's what I'll say about this game. I don't think this game is necessarily unfair with its difficulty so much as it's just... I feel more comfortable saying that I'm not doing that great with it. So, there's something to be said about that. I mean, it's not the case of some games I've played, even some racing games, where you have to run a perfect race and any mistake, and it's pretty much a case where you need to restart. Okay, so in that case, alright, so I have to have higher than 8th, feasibly. But I mean, if nothing else, I did do better this time than I did last time. Alright, this is the 6-lap run. Yeah, yikes indeed. I guess, Electors, you said your experiences with Top Gear 2. What would you say about that game in terms of its difficulty or anything else in regards to it? I guess feasibly, would you recommend that? I mean, I think that's one I could feasibly also take a look at. So we could take a look at feasibly this whole franchise. I could even get to the point of, I guess, facing my personal demons of Top Gear Rally again for the purpose of that, and maybe being in a better place some, I don't know, 25 years feasibly by the time I do that, to be in a better frame of mind for that. But, yeah, if that's the case, then what you have on that one? Yeah, I could get the sense of, like, going through, looking at a series. And in some ways, I've been doing that a bit this year with the Sonic stuff, and anytime I'll pick out, I guess, games where I'll have a sequel. Or I've done the original, and then I'll do the sequel. Like, well, okay, Donkey Kong Country, where I did do the original last year, but I don't have the recording for it, so I didn't, that's the reason why we only have Donkey Kong Country 2 up on the YouTube site. It's easier than this. Okay, so, alright, so Top Gear 2 then, they made it so that it's a little easier than how this is looking. Alright, gotcha. Which is fair enough. I mean, I guess when they have the sequel, the thought is, I guess, well, because I'm saying I'm on the amateur level, and this is definitely still making me have to pay attention, specifically. So maybe thinking like, okay, let's make the easier difficulty a little easier, perhaps. And you can buy better parts for it. Okay, so... Alright, so in that case, they're almost pulling from something like Super Off-Road, or like... I think of other games that tend to do that at the time. We have upgradable elements. Oh, right, RC Prime. Or, yeah, RC Prime, you have upgradable elements. Or RC Prime 2. RC Prime 2, I think you get the upgrades as you go along. RC Prime 2, you buy them, I think. And I do have RC Pro-Am 1 on NES, and I have 2 through the Rare Replay, which we can play that way, feasibly, because RC Pro-Am 2 costs a fortune, surprisingly. That game is really expensive. I did not notice it was that expensive. And as far as Top Gear is concerned, Top Gear 3000, the third one on the Super Nintendo, that does cost a lot. It's like $80, $90. Because that was 1994 or 5, I think, for that one. So it didn't necessarily get as much attention, I guess, to a certain extent, as the first two. I mean, I guess it must have gotten enough if, well, we had that, and then it went over to N64, and then other systems afterwards. But I do like the idea of what you're telling me, the idea that you're buying parts for it, so it gives it a little more depth. I mean, in some ways this game has more depth, I guess, because, as I mentioned, the pit concept. And the idea of having to pick your car right, uh-oh. Yeah, okay, I might not be able to... Okay, I need to take a pit stop then, feasibly, for this, otherwise I'm going to run out of gas. And I gotta keep an eye on that gas gauge. Now, I think we can do it. The cars are kind of 3D instead of sprite-based. Okay, so, alright. So, technologically speaking, they're building on what this was doing and using more of the tech. Alright, so, they make the cars look more realistic. Okay. Question then, you're saying how smooth this is. Okay, I'll put it into a spectrum this way. If you have if you're gonna say, like, okay, you have the smoothness of, so like Super Mario Kart, that's at the top, then there's this one, and at the bottom you have something like Race Driving, or, I'm trying to remember I think it's Al Unser Jr.'s, Race of Champions, I think it is, which is choppy as anything. I don't know, I guess would that be in the middle as far as how frame rate runs? I mean, I would get a sense if I saw it, but since I'm kind of now peaked with the Top Gear element, I would be curious to, again, go into that one as well. Because it's either this one and Top Gear Overdrive, those are the only two I own right now. But since most of them except 3000 don't cost a lot, I would be willing to invest in them to take a look at them. The only one that's going to be the question mark is Downforce, because Downforce is on the DS, I don't know how much it costs, and I would have to figure out a capture situation for the DS, because I do not have a capture device that connects for that. And those are expensive. And I mean, I already have had to put in certain aspects with this, because, you know, like for you, I know you were last year when we did Mega Man Legends about a month or so ago. I'm going to update you on something to that. I mentioned how we were going to be doing, my guest Nocturne and I, we wanted to do stuff for Sega Saturn, and we had issues with the display of that. And that was because of the 240p output of a lot of 32-bit units. Yes, I would say it is. Okay, gotcha. As far as the frame rate. Alright, it'd be in the middle. Yeah, going back to that, that was the reason we couldn't do the Saturn stuff we wanted to do, but I decided to buy my own Sega Saturn off of eBay to get a sense of, like, what's going on here. And one of the things I figured is that, okay, I think I need to get an upscaler in order to do that. In fact, actually, today, they finally restocked the RetroTink 5X, which is a pretty high-end upscaler, but from my understanding, I'm looking for something where, I mentioned this multiple times, I said, how many times have I said to you before the idea of the feed cutting and me having to control that, particularly on PlayStation? Well, from what I understand, that unit is going to fix that because it handles, and the reason it does that, by the way, is because it changes resolutions sometimes on the fly in a game, and Saturn and PlayStation do that all the time. I think I got lucky with something like Metal Gear Solid, where either it doesn't do that, or the TV I was running it off of made it so it wasn't a problem. But yeah, that unit should help me out with that problem, so basically anything Saturn, PlayStation... Well, PlayStation off the actual unit, because we're using PlayStation 3 now for anything PS1. But anything where I have that concern with the 240p output should be a thing of the past, feasibly. What in terms of... The Genesis version had a better frame rate. Right, there was, yeah, because... It was Top Gear 2 was on the, either that was on Genesis as well, or they had it named something else. Because I remember there was the Lotus Racing Champion game, or whatever it's named. I'll put a correction of what it is on the YouTube site, because I know I'm not saying the name of what that is right. There was something on the Genesis, and I know the people who made this made that as well. So, yeah, I'll have to look into that. But yeah, with the, I'll have to, as for going back to the upscaling thing, the Saturn PlayStation, the feed cuts out often for that when you're playing, especially the Mega Man X3 and X4 things we wanted to do that all the time between the anime cutscenes in the game. So I had to basically figure something, and that should control it, because basically what that upscaler is going to do, it's going to take the output of the console, whatever it is native, and then it's going to replicate that, or it's going to upscale that to 720p so that more modern TVs will be able to recognize that. and then also it should handle feed switches or resolution switches a lot easier. Actually, it also means the other thing, feasibly, because I mentioned whenever I do stuff on Super Nintendo and Genesis and feasibly NES, they output in 480i as far as their display, the interlacing with the I being standing for. I have to use another television that recognizes that signal. One of the ones I have does not recognize it. But feasibly with this, that might make that a thing of the past. So feasibly, I might only have to use one television, my big Samsung unit, to run anything I want. But I'll get a better answer to that next month when that arrives, because they need to take some time to get that thing going. I mean, they need to take some time to get the chips to get that thing built, or get those things restocked. But they did restock them today, I got one, and we're all set. So all that stuff is in play, and the Saturn is in play as well, feasibly, when I figured that out, along with the stuff that I picked up for, one of which was a racing game, which was Meg's TT Superbike from Sega, and was ported by Tantalus. But yeah, there we go. Alright, so I'll have to also take a look as far as like what Genesis is doing as far as Top Gear, or whatever the name of the Top Gear thing, and I keep running into that. I mean, even like, I'll say this though, I do like the sound design of that here, that clack, that click, when you're hitting the side of it. It does kind of feel like, oh yeah, you're kind of hitting into that nicely. Which again goes back to, and yeah, I'm, really going back to this nastily, I guess, Top Gear Rally on Nintendo 64 had really bad sound effects on top of the music elements. So it's like, and I think, yeah, I believe Barry Letch was involved, not with the music on that, but he was involved with some of the sound design. I was like, yeah, I don't understand what happened with that one. But then Top Gear Overdrive came around, and that was way better, especially because they had, like, actual real instruments going on, like this heavy guitar riff, and you can hear it muffled a little bit as far as them compressing it, but it still sounds really awesome, and it fits much more for that game. Which is more arcadey in style like this one, to a certain extent. And that is a unique one as well, and I definitely could show that off, especially because, I guess with Wave Race 64 and now with this, I guess the racing barrier has been broken wide open, so it's like, yeah, I have an idea of how I want to handle whatever racing game you want to toss at me or that I want to toss at you or show off. Even if it's one I don't like feasibly or one I haven't played. So in that case, we're all set, and it has made me think also as far as what do I want to do with other genres that maybe I haven't touched yet, but yeah, for now we got the racing game stuff going, and I'm liking what we got. Talking about the Genesis version of Top Gear 2. Okay, so Top Gear 2 is on Genesis as well. Where would you say it's better? Would you say it's better on Genesis or Super Nintendo? Would you say there should be, would you have a preference of what version you like to see or what version is better? Or feasibly, that could also make me think of, okay, that's Final Lap. I just want to make sure. And, okay, that's the good news of having the other player or the computer player down there on the bottom screen and having split screen always for you. You get to see, if you were paying attention like me, to what the lap was, see how far you have left. But yeah, I mean, thinking about that, I guess sometimes it's another fascination I've come to that, and I think we've, as a chat, collectively, or the chat and myself collectively, have a lot to talk about the differences of versions. It's up to the idea of, oh hey, what version of a game do I want to pick up if I haven't played it yet? Or it's like the Console Wars show, which is, I think, a series on YouTube that does that. With Genesis and Super Nintendo, that might be an interesting one for them to do. But we could take a look at it that way ourselves, if you want to go about it that way too. Alright, back at the rainforest, let's see. I have to avoid those signs this time, so let's see. Super Nintendo, which is where I own it. Okay. And I guess feasibly, I probably would have picked Super Nintendo anyway, only because I guess I'm kind of used to it playing with this one now, and because in a lot of ways I kind of consider Top Gear as a Nintendo series, even though Nintendo did not publish it. Well, okay, actually, that's a lie. They did publish Top Gear Rally on Game Boy Advance, which is not the same game, by the way, as the one on N64. From what I understand, it's supposed to be one of the best racing games on the Game Boy Advance. So yeah, I think that was the one time I think Nintendo did publish it, but outside of that, it was always Kemco. I love that show. The Console Wars show? Yeah, that's, yeah, absolutely. I remember finding that out for the purpose of kind of looking at the idea of, hey, the comparison between, well, the greatest console war in gaming history, probably, which was the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo, and I'm doing way better now on this race, feasibly. Alright. Oh. No! Okay, so much for that. But yeah, I do love that idea of, again, them comparing different versions. And sometimes the idea of, hey, what is this like? Especially when they're either really different games or they have to kind of scrounge to find something to kind of make one game feasibly make a vote of what's better. I remember actually one of the closest they did was when they did Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, and they're saying, like, that's a really tough decision. In my case, I would say in some ways it's not because of... Oh! Okay. Okay, that's funny right there, alright. So, yeah, the driver is getting very angry. That is the right reaction, I would think, if you're getting angry, saying a lot of, you know, profanities that they can't have or couldn't have in this game. You ever played Wipeout? Yeah, on PlayStation, I do have the Wipeout game for that, and with this, stream, or the feed thing with the... Oh no, you know what? I think I'm gonna probably resign myself to the fact that I'm gonna use the password. But yeah, I have played Wipeout on the PlayStation and I liked it quite a bit. There are other ones I do want to play, and I do have on docket for you at some point Quantum Redshift on Xbox, because I remember we brought that up when we talked about Sonic and All-Stars Transformed. And I would definitely like to go to that and to Wipeout, so yeah, definitely, that's a good one to get to. Although, if you want to play it, which one? I've heard of it. Yeah, it was the futuristic racing series of well, it was Psygnosis who developed it, and then actually Sony owns them. It's Sony Liverpool Studios now, and it's kind of like their take in some ways to F-Zero, but it's definitely a lot different than how F-Zero is. Yeah, let's see. How are we doing on this? Oh no. Alright, I gotta guard that weird bumper, although that's the detail you're saying, not Top Gear. Oh, no. Alright, I'm gonna resign myself, we're putting the password in. Right, as I was gonna say, as far as Wipeout, which one would you want to see? Because I have the original on PlayStation, but there's others as well that we can show up too. But yeah, unfortunately, third time's charm, that's what we're gonna do this. 3 times, and we're gonna do this. Yeah, I failed to qualify the next race, I'm sorry. Sorry to chat, and sorry to the game, so... Alright, so next up on the docket is Japan, I think. So when I can press start on the title screen, we will go to the next one. Yeah, that rainforest is quite literally killing me. Alright, so Japan is next, and... Alright, I guess we get to show this off, entering the password. So, the password is... Gearbox. Hit that, and there you go. And it opens it up. Actually... You know, let's try and actually open these things legitimately. I was gonna say I'm gonna put in every password for everything, but, no. If you know what? Since I'm doing this, and since I'm not really concerned about this much anymore, we're gonna change car. Let's use... And the control scheme is the same, and we're also going to use... let's see. Yeah, this one. I also have Wipeout on the PlayStation, and several of the same people made the Quantum Redshift game. Yes, absolutely. Which I remember really liking what I played of the demo of Quantum Redshift. I remember being really surprised that did not take off. That people didn't buy that when it came out. It was 2002 it released, and to be fair, I didn't buy it either, so I'm just as guilty. But yeah, I would have thought that was actually in a lot of ways one of the best. I guess first-party games that Microsoft had that was not Halo or Project Gotham Racing as far as that system, or eventually Forza Motorsport on that system. Because yeah, on the original Xbox, Microsoft did a lot of first-party publishing of a lot of things, but then they're like, yeah, a lot of them didn't sell, except for only a couple. And then it was later on 360 they kind of got into that. And actually one of them, and this is kind of a poetic case, I mentioned Psychonauts 2 is coming out next month. Microsoft owns Double Fine Studios, the company Tim Schafer's now releasing that. Microsoft was going to release Psychonauts specifically. They're going to publish that for the Xbox initially. They bypassed that. They said, "Okay, we decided we're not going to publish it anymore." And then Majesco published it, and despite people loving it, it did not sell very well. I mean, actually, that is one I did buy when it came out. So in that case, I'll say like, okay, I was not guilty in that case because I bought it right away. But now Microsoft is publishing Psychonauts 2, so it's kind of them coming back and publishing it, realizing perhaps that, yeah, maybe they made a mistake not publishing it the first time. Although, I mean, I don't know necessarily would it have sold better under them than it would have under Majesco, because I do know Majesco spent a lot of money to try to get that game, I guess, put out there. That and Advent Rising, which I know Advent Rising was a game that almost completely bankrupted them until Cookie Mama came around, actually, and brought them out of the hole, and really is the franchise that saved Majesco. But yeah, that was an interesting case, and with Microsoft on the original Xbox, there's a lot of games they published, but it also made for a lot of, like, buried treasure concepts of games that maybe not a whole lot of people played, or ones that are surprisingly good. And I know I've gotten a case of that, Quantum Redshift being one of them. Another one I would say is Crimson Skies Highroad to Revenge. That game is amazing. And also, what's the other one? I was thinking, yeah, it just came to my mind and went out. Oh, Voodoo Vince, which is kind of like a platformer, kind of like Gex a little bit, and it even has like a style of Gex with some of its humor and some of its style, even like the way its main character sounds. It's not Dana Gould who voiced Gex in those games, but it has that same style to it. It has this amazing, if you've never played Voodoo Vince, which is on the Xbox, and there is a port of that on Xbox One as well, or a remake, I should say. It has this great New Orleans Cajun-style music, because it's set in New Orleans. Basically, in that game, what you are is you're a voodoo doll of this, voodoo mistress who runs a shop in, like, the alleys of New Orleans, and the idea is that this weird, like, guy is coming around and causing trouble, and then her voodoo doll comes to life, and he kind of goes around, and fittingly, he starts, flagellating himself to kill the enemies, or slice himself in half with a chainsaw, and then the enemies will be sliced in half, and they'll actually have like a... And even though it sounds really grisly, it's not, because it's like cartoony style. They basically be like slabs of meat in between as well. It's actually weirdly funny and very, knowing about itself. Even the idea of some of the lines of dialogue where he's saying like, well, what's next? The obligatory boss battle, and then, well, you fight the obligatory boss battle. Some people said, hey, does that necessarily make it okay that you're making that joke and then still having to play that straight? So I was like, well, the game still looks really nice, especially stylistically speaking, and it plays really well too. And it's dirt cheap. It's a game that does not cost a lot of money. And sometimes that happens. You get a game that maybe slips through the cracks, or something that not everybody knows, but it costs, next to nothing feasibly. Actually, going back to the Microsoft thing, because, I mean, in some ways you've seen everything this game is as far as understanding how it plays, and I guess seeing the cityscape, though, of Japan, like, whoa, that looks nice. And I do like the scrolling there. It's like, whoa, you're going really fast. As you go around the turn, like, the city's going left and right really quickly. Actually, that kind of is pertinent to something that was happening to me this week, because I remember telling one of my coworkers, I mentioned we have the Considered Bad Game Thursday set up, and I said, not a horrible game, but one I was like, I kind of was curious if they'd want to see it. I mentioned to them Blink's the Time Sweeper for Xbox, and like, I never heard of that. And I said, oh, let me tell you what this game is. It's a game where you're playing as this cat who has this vacuum cleaner that controls time, and you can rewind and slow down and pause things. And actually, it was developed by ex-members of Sonic Team. So that was an interesting case, and it kind of filled a gap on the original Xbox of stuff that's more for kids, feasibly. But it was a very weird game. Even the point where, and this is how you tell it's by the people who made Sonic the Hedgehog, or ex-Sonic Team members, they institute time over from that game in it. And actually, I think I'm going to run out of gas, actually, speaking of which, unless I get the pit stop quick. Perfect. Go to the left, go to the left. Oh, and we're going to make it. Oh, I'm out of fuel. Oh, I just made it. Awesome. Alright, so now... Oh, uh-oh. I'm gonna lose this one right away, too. Unfortunately. Yeah, I guess this goes to the idea that this game is a little harder. Oh, that was the end! Oh, no. Alright, I would have ran out of gas anyway. Okay. Alright, well, since that was the first race, I think we're just gonna start from there. Alright, so this game is not gonna be screwing around with difficulty. Alright, now I'm looking sad, but we'll make that better. Eventually. I'm gonna have to take some water, though. Okay, it does not go past the Chemco Presents once I hit start. Alright. Alright, so this is, I guess, gonna be the perspective. I was like, yeah, I can get through the first circuit no problem, and then the rest of them are giving me an issue. Yeah, we are still an amateur. You know what, I'm gonna go back to the other car I had, because maybe that's the problem. Alright, so that was this one. Also, I'm getting the sense that for this game, the grip is really the thing you want to have. And like, for instance, you mentioned Top Gear 2. I don't know if that's something you want to focus on when you play that game before you get better parts. Well, feasibly, I guess you're going to be able to get better parts to increase everything, including your grip on the road. And actually, thinking about bringing that up, I guess, I do get the sense that I'm having a nice sense of feeling to the ground while I'm driving here, which is not an easy thing to replicate in racing games in a lot of cases. Sometimes, like, they'll mention, hey, do you get the sense of feeling the road as you play? But in the case of something like this, yeah, I do get that sense. I do get the sense that, yeah, you're kind of steering along and going into turns that way, and you feel like, yeah, for Super Nintendo, at least, it has this nice feel, and it does control really well, also. While also looking very appealing. Oh, no! Yeah, okay, that's the hard thing I'm noticing right there, which is being able to avoid the pit stop. But I should be able to handle this feasibly. But yeah, this is a 7-lap race, so let's see what we can do. Yeah, I think this is probably the best for me as far as the car. So yeah, I think we're just going to stick with this. I mean, yeah, for a racing game, you try other cars when you have options as far as selecting cars. Sometimes you have to fall back on what works best for you. Which in a lot of cases, when it comes to racing games like this, usually growing up, I was always focused on the speed. Like, no, I want to go fast so I can win easier. But then there's other cases, like when I come back to it later, I would focus more on, like, the grip or the handling. Actually, Super Mario Kart's like that. Because usually, when I grew up as a kid, I'd play as Bowser. I'd be able to handle that no problem going really fast, and even with the way he handles, not so great. But honestly, in the years since, actually going back to probably about 10 years ago when I played it, I realized, you know what, I play as Koopa Troopa now, because he handles really, really well, but also he still sort of kind of goes actually pretty fast. So at that point, it's like, yeah, whenever I play Super Mario Kart, yeah, Koopa Troopa is who I'm pulling out. So I guess I kind of have the same mentality on this one, in that I'm focusing on my handling. I do like that overhead view on the pit there, and I guess also the idea, since this is split screen, you kind of can pay attention to that or see that as a nice, you know, change of pace, and also get a sense of where is the other where's your opponent. Or I guess the idea of like the screen-looking concept of like a first-person shooter when you had multiple screen, same area, local multiplayer going. Yeah, that's always the kind of pattern in a racing game like this that always throws you for a loop. And Outrun does the same thing as well. Like, when you're turning quite far in one direction and then it's like an S-turn. So like, oh yeah, then you have to go the other direction. Like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going this way all the way. Like, oh, wait, no. Gotta be quick. So it's all about those fast reflexes and being able to adjust to that. Alright. Actually, yeah, I haven't been using the nitro that much. Maybe that's part of my problem, too. Pit's over here, and I think this is the second to last lap, so let's take this now. Alright, about halfway through I'll do it. Alright, 2 laps left. Alright. So I think half tank should be good. And I like that idea as far as managing gas, because honestly, off the top of my head, I can't really think of another racing game that makes you do that. But this kind of gives you a good way of handling it, so it doesn't seem like it's tedious. Like, oh yeah, I have to manage my gas, or if I take that in order to do it, I'm going to lose. But I'm right on the edge as far as where I need to be. But yeah, he has low fuel, so he's going to take that. Feasibly he, she, whoever it is in the car. But yeah, we'll see what goes on to that. Yeah, take the pit, thank you. Alright, so that's the final lap, let's do this. Yeah, I'm feeling much better now being able to handle this. I mean, at least with the thing with South America stuff, at least I think I lost at the last track for it, but if not, I'll put a comment in the video. Ouch. Ouch indeed. Or, I'm trying to think of some good ouches, word-wise, quote-wise, from gaming. I guess, ouch! From Space Harrier. but only because that's the thing I was thinking about that, because it also has, like, the scrolling elements of it as well. There we go. Okay, so now we're back on track. And he just made it before his gas ran out, so perfect. Okay, so there is me against, at third place. So yeah, Paul and Richie, yeah, they beat me, but again, they made the game, so they should beat me feasibly. We're going to Hiroshima. So yeah, we're definitely getting a worldwide tour on this game. In a way, thinking of games we've done before, it's kind of like Katamari Damacy. Ooh, nice. I'll say this right now. I have not seen this. So this is a surprise to me, but night driving with sunset. And the nice Shinto temple in the background. Wow, I like this. And that's the other thing I was mentioning with this game. I'll say this as far as this. I like the art direction of this, just because of that and of the colors. So, like, yeah, here we go. It's like sunset driving, which I guess is fitting for the weather outside. It's nice and sunny, and the sun is setting. And the headlights, which I always love that. And I think maybe that's another thing. I'm always a sucker for this. And chat, let me know if you like this too when it comes to your racing games. The idea of, like, night racing, or night driving, because there's a game, Night Driving, by Atari. But just the idea of being able to go out at night and being able to go out there and say, oh, wow, there we go. Oh, it's getting a bit darker going down. Oh. Oh, the sun is coming up. All right, so it's early morning. All right. That's awesome. And that's nice right there. Dynamic weather, or I guess dynamic lighting as well, which, yeah, I'm not really... I'm kind of blanking when I'm trying to think of games that... I mean, I guess Outrun kind of did that, but I don't even think Outrun did it as impressively as this. Or as much as that. With Outrun, it's basically just changing the background to where you're going. But in this one, it's like, no, it's nighttime, and then it's early in the morning, and then the sun is just coming up. Okay, so it wasn't a sunset, it was a sunrise. Whoa. I guess in that case, it's making me wonder, if I keep going, is it then going to become dark again? Oh, actually, it looks like it might. But we'll see. Or actually, okay, because I did think of a game on Super Nintendo that has something like this, though it was way later than this, Donkey Kong Country 2, which we did play. And I do have it on the YouTube site. That did something like that in the Gangplank Galley level, although that was 3 years after this. So yeah, give Kemco and Gremlin credit for coming to the plate with that a whole 3.5 years before Rare did it. So there you go. Another reason why this is a unique one, an interesting one for your Super Nintendo collection, and it's an affordable one. I will say that as well, because when I was saying, okay, I'm going to get the Top Gear game, like first you want to see it, it's like, get the first, I was like, okay, I'll get the first. I was thinking, how much is it going to cost, because Super Nintendo games can sometimes go for a lot. That one, no, it was like 10 bucks. And actually, I got it a lot with something else. I got it with Batman Forever, which is not a good game. It was like, well, we're going to have to play that at some point, so may as well grab that in a lot with this one. Whoa. That'll also be another case of the Bad Game Thursday, although for this show it'll be Saturday, or it'll be... I don't know if somebody can come up with a better name as far as what Super Old Game Saturday will be when we're playing a game that's not very good. Sucky Game Saturday? I don't know. I mean, we'll figure something out. Maybe it doesn't even need to be alliterative. But, or it'll be Bad Game Thursday on, Saturday. Yeah, but we'll figure that out. Oh, I'm low on fuel, but I just passed... Okay, I just passed the pit. Yes? Okay, yeah, I passed the pit because I'm winning. So I should be able to make it to next lap, no problem, assuming that's the last lap we're going to be hitting, or the next lap. We have more to go. Oh. Okay, never mind. Okay, I didn't need it. And sometimes you can risk that when you were on the last lap, although if I'd have remembered or paid attention I was on the last lap, that would have been better. Alright, so we're winning again. Let's see where we're going. Alright, Yokohama. This is a 3-lap. Yeah, I guess that's the other interesting thing, too, as far as this, because they are varying the lap numbers up. Because with Super Mario Kart, it's always 5 laps. A lot of racing games, it's 3. The later Mario Kart games were always with 3, basically, unless there was like a extenuating circumstance like Baby Park in Mario Kart Double Dash, where it's like 7. Oh, out of my way! Which, okay, that's me referencing Blast Corps from Rare for Nintendo 64, which I want to do at some point. I think I want to do that early next year, because that'll be the 25th anniversary of that game. And we will use the Nintendo 64 for that, because there were some changes they made to it when they ported that to the Xbox One in Rare Replay that are worth bringing up. But I do have it on N64, so we can play it that way too. And that's a unique one as well. And then that Out of My Way, which will come up, which actually is a reference to the TV show The A-Team. And we'll get into that when we do Blast Corps. But I do want to do that one, because that's another one on Nintendo 64 that is terrific, and one that, like this game to a certain extent, and others, I get the sense people don't talk about much, but it is quite something and quite unique. Right, let's go. Actually, I'm trying to think if they said let's go in Blast Corps. No, I don't think they did. I think they said, time to get moving. Well, okay, well, I guess it's time to get moving here, then. I guess that question, anybody in chat, do you remember Blast Corps on Nintendo 64 at all? Or do you think I'm just some crazy madman for bringing up that game and saying, like, what is this? But again, maybe not, because I know a lot of my coworkers, like, sometimes they haven't heard of some of these things, but they'll be intrigued by what they might sound like. Or sometimes in my case, like one of my coworkers, he's huge into No More Heroes. He's been saying, like, you have to get this game, you have to play this, because I can't wait for the new one to come out and, you know, start with the original. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy the Wii version of that in particular. So in that case, it kind of works both ways. Like, yeah, I didn't play it, so they show me the idea of it because he has the Switch version of it. And then I can then play it another way as well. And feasibly also makes for more, you know, streaming material for the show, feasibly. Which I always like doing. And in all honesty, along with the idea of me buying games just because I want to buy them, some cases I kind of buy games now also because, like, I get the sense of, hey, I can show this to people. Either to friends, family, or through this show. Or all of those. So, there you go. Alright, so 47 points. And now we're going to Kyoto. Alright, so we're in the forest, it looks like, of Kyoto, feasibly. I do like that idea that we're going all over the place and the terrain is different, so there you go. Oh, yeah, okay, that's the other thing. I guess because of the fact that there's hills there, it's like, yeah, you have to be really careful as far as not hitting anything on the way down or up them. I guess also I probably should be paying attention to that map in the upper left-hand corner of the screen so that I can know where the straightaways are. Yeah, I gotta avoid that. Oh, well, okay, at least they do label the pit stop #1, but #2, I gotta be careful about that sign. But I keep making the same mistakes, so I was like, alright, I gotta buckle down a bit. So he hit into the other car there. Oh, hopefully I can not make that same mistake. Okay, perfect. See, there you go. We're learning. I guess that's the idea of a racing game, which is, alright, you're going through a track, you might not know it, and then you learn all the ins and outs as you go around multiple laps, or play it more. Or feasibly play with another player feasibly, because this game does have two-player. I mean, technically it looks like I'm playing two-player as it is, but in this case it's just the computer that's showing it. But that's one thing I noticed with a lot of the Nintendo 64 racing games, where a lot of, or not Nintendo 64, I mean Super Nintendo, where a lot of them would have this default look to them, where they'd have split screen from the top, and then something else on the bottom, whether it be the other computer player or the map, in the case of something like Mario Kart. Alright, my fuel's low, but I gotta pay attention to what the next lap is. Alright, 2 laps, so I'm gonna definitely need to take the pit stop when I get there on the other side. And I should be able to make it. I think. Actually, I haven't seen, and at some point I guess I probably should show this off before we close for tonight. Arg! Oh, well, I kind of got back into it really good. But, yeah, I probably should show this at the end of the night. What happens when you totally run out of gas. Alright, the pit is coming up on the left after this turn. There we go. Alright, that should be good. That was weird, I kind of went over to the left when it came out. Also, I do have my nitros that I haven't been really using, so let's use them. Use them on the straightaway, that's probably the right way to go. Whoa! Oh no! Actually, will he take the... Okay, no, he's not. Alright, so... I was gonna say, oh, the computer will always take the pit stop. Alright, on last lap, they're not taking the pit stop. So they do have the strategy ready to go, too. I guess that shows more than anything, I think, now I'm thinking about it, that actually, yeah, the AI is pretty good in this game. Alright, 59. Okay, so I don't have to win. I can get second. Alright, so Brazil I couldn't win or get through, but we qualified for the next country. And the password for the next country is car park. Or to quote Perfect Dark, that car park is your only point of ingress. We're going to Munich. And we got a 7-lap race around this, so let's see how this looks. Oh, but it does look really nice with the nice water on the side there, but I don't know if you can go in the water. I guess let's see. I should try to remember if you can go in the water in any other Top Gear games. Well, okay, in Top Gear Overdrive, I know you can go off the mountain. It's pretty hilarious when you go off the mountain, because the camera stops and you just kind of go flying into the abyss, and then you explode. While you're hearing that heavy guitar music going to it. And it's pretty glorious to watch that, honestly. And it looks so sharp and smooth when that happens, I will say, for sure. Especially because that's a game that, with that game for the graphics, they utilize the expansion pack for that, and it looks terrific. But it also still runs really nice. Which you don't always get with expansion pack compatible games on that system, so there you go. That was, I think, actually no, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, Top Gear Overdrive was one of the first games on the Nintendo 64 to use it. It was that, Truck 2, NFL Quarterback Club 99, and Star Wars Rogue Squadron. And then Top Gear Overdrive. But in this case, I'm kind of just going into more of the stuff of my knowledge with the other Top Gear games, although admittingly, as I said, the two, Top Gear Rally and Overdrive, were my ones I'm most familiar with on N64, although I didn't play Overdrive until probably 2006, 7. Outside of that, then that was the only game I really had played for an extensive period of time until this one. Then again, it also goes to what our different experiences with this franchise or games like this might be. As is the case, like for mentioning that, oh yeah, he played Top Gear 2 in particular, and that being something that he liked very much, and feasibly, I guess, with this one, or liking seeing this one for sure. But I definitely will keep Top Gear 2 on my radar for the purpose of that, because I'm liking this playthrough. And hopefully you guys are liking it too. Guys and gals, everyone in between are liking it as well. Whoa! Yeah, I was getting a little tense going up the hills and all that, but yeah, it's kind of what a game like this can do to you. It can put you into that mentality. And, yeah, I mean, it does immerse you, and there's something to be said about that as well. How far am I against... Okay, he's not too far. I'm confused if we get to first, but honestly, now that I realized that, I don't necessarily need to win to get to the next circuit, I think I should be set. Whoa. Three laps left. Oh. I think I could afford one more lap before I take a pit stop. I think. But to go back to that again, I just like the fact that, hey, I have to think about that a little bit. So, as much as I'm thinking about passing the other cars and keeping my speed going and then also braking in the curves, I also have to manage that. And it fits in really nice. And he's a unique mechanic, as I mentioned, so credit for that. Or, you know, maybe I'm not going to be able to. Okay, hopefully I'll be able to get there in time. Let's see. Yeah, they'll be close. Probably end up like the last time I was really close to my gas. Oh, here we go. Perfect. We're going to make it. He's usually going to give you that arrow where the pits are. It means that you're pretty close. Because I have 2 laps, I think about half tank ought to do it. Okay, a little more then, but we're good. Oh, he passed me. All right. Just use all my nitros here. That purple car, got you now. I guess he got me then. But I'll take 5th, because I think, from what I remember, you have to get at least 5th in order to go on to the next race, I think. Alright, here we go. We're going to Cologne, so we should be good. That helps, getting hit by the other car being pushed forward. And I do like that as far as the physics, that can be a factor to help you out. Or hurt you if you're not careful. Oh, yeah, doing really good going through, zigzagging around the other cars. There we go, good. Second, and I think we're winning. Alright, so just gotta hold on for the next couple of laps. I think there's only 3 laps, so we should be set. Oh, there we go, with the time of day changing again, and now it's night. Oh, and it's getting really dark. Okay, wow. Alright. Oh, we get that nice look at the city there. Wow, that looks beautiful. Alright, there we go. Final lap. Alright, let's see if we can do this. Yeah, I'm lapping him, but yeah, you can still get in the way. And there he is, but I know exactly where I'm going to use my last nitro. He's running he'll still make it. Like, he's running out of gas, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. Actually, I don't think they give you pit on any of the 3-lap races. Usually because you don't need them. You can get through the whole race, I think, on any car, no matter what its fuel consumption might be on just that. Alright, there we go, 1. Perfect. I do love that for the crossing of the finish line. Alright, so that's 20 points, and there we go. We are... Okay, we're tied with Richie at not 20, it's 28. But I guess we're still on top despite that. Alright, so we're going into the Black Forest of Germany with a 6-lap run. Great. Yeah, indeed. Well, so far it's going a lot better. It's funny. The South America stuff seems to be where I was having the most trouble on that element of the rainforest. But yeah, I'm doing okay, even though I can tell, yeah, this game is definitely getting a bit harder. Out of my way! Yeah, again. The talking car again. Or I guess feet... Oh, that was weird. It looked like I had kind of just stopped, sorta, but then I was able to get back up to speed really quick. Not even, like, bouncing back. Alright, there we go, woo! Yeah, but even though I'm feeling it getting harder, I also, weirdly enough, feel myself getting better at it, only because I've been playing it for a decent amount of time. And feasibly, I guess as far as how this playthrough is gonna go... Okay, I just barely hit that tree. Yeah, based on how this is gonna go, I guess feasibly then we're just gonna show off all of the courses, or all the championship elements, feasibly. And since I have the passwords, if I fail, it's like, well, we're just gonna put in the next one when we fail. And I also like the other idea right there on this track where it seems like along with the scenery changing, it seems like the road terrain is changing, although I don't think it's necessarily changing the feel of what it is, but yeah, it seems like it's... Well, actually, okay, no, sort of is. Yeah, it's like tarmac, you know, nice with the lines and everything, but then it's kind of not unpaved, but not necessarily marked. Which is a very nice thing to see, and a unique thing to see. Oh! Yeah, these are pretty strong cars, feasibly, for them to survive hitting a tree like that, but, yeah, there you go. Actually, as far as that, now I'm thinking about it, because I may as well go into other elements of the other Top Gear games that I'm aware of. The Top Gear rallies on N64 did implement damage elements. Top Gear Rally in particular was more for cosmetic element, but your car would get dented, which still did look pretty nice, admittedly. And then Top Gear Rally 2 actually did have a damage model concept. But in the case of that game, from what I understood, I never played it, but I understand that apparently some of those can be pretty random. It's a game that plays kind of arcadey, but then has the same elements to the point where feasibly you can get a flat tire for no reason, and then just fail a mission for that. And oftentimes it's hard to tell, like, wait a second, how did I get a flat? I mean, I guess it's like real life that way, but it's like, well, hey, couldn't you at least put some glass in the road and then make it so that, oh yeah, you get a flat if you go over the grass that way, or go over the glass that way. Or perhaps make it like, Toka Race Driver 2, Codemasters, where in that game, the damage modeling is the kind of thing where you can ram so hard in the wall, your tire will come off, and then you fail the race because you can't drive anymore. Or like some of the Forza Motorsport games where when you hit strong enough, your tire comes off, but you can still drive on the metal cylinder, which is kind of amazing. And you can see, even on the ground, like, the flames and the sparks going. But amazingly, you're also not going to be in a case where the car is going to be getting set on fire by that, which would be amazing if that happened, but unfortunately, that's not a factor in that game. And I don't know off the top of my head if there's any game that has an element like that, where you can drive like that and feasibly get the car set on fire for a reason like that. But chat, if you know one, let me know, because I would be very curious to play it. Oh no! Actually, okay, I'm far enough ahead of him, I should be fine. And actually, I think I should be able to get to the end of this without having to refuel, I think. No, okay. Oh, I don't know. I mean, you know, we're gonna take. Oh, go, 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 go. Alright, I'm probably not gonna win because of that, but I was like, well, I needed to take something to get there. Alright, well, I got second, so I'm not gonna complain. Yeah, because I wouldn't have made that if I didn't take the pit stop. But then again, I didn't win, so I had to kind of balance that. Alright, so second place. Now we are in Frankfurt. Oh boy, 8 laps. Though it is a short course, so that makes sense as to why. So the pit stop is pretty early, so that's good. Okay, so yeah, this is definitely going to be a little bit of a marathon, but not too bad so far. Oh. Alright, it won't be too bad as long as I as long as I start paying attention a little better. But we'll see how this goes. I'll probably try this the next lap, because I think you can off-road in this game feasibly when there's places to do it. But can I off-road and go around the gate that way? I think I can, we'll see. And that's the other thing about this show, sometimes it's the kind of thing either I'll say, or chat will say, hey, what about this in this game, or maybe you can do this, and then we try it, or I try and see if we can do it, and show it off. So we cover the whole gamut of the game you're going to be seeing, whatever it might be. Oh, yeah. Alright, at this point, yeah, I'm always using the bottom screen there. It's kind of like my makeshift rear view mirror. So I'm like, okay, he's coming up on me, but then I knock him away. I gotta try that thing going around, but I tend to either not remember it, or remember it's coming up, or not want to do it, because I want to get out of the way of him and win. But he's taking a pit stop, so he should be set. So I can at least move forward. Okay, yeah, I can go around it. See, I remember this time. I was like, oh yeah, it's coming up. Let me try this. So yeah, you can off-road and go around it. Which is probably the safer thing to do if you can't get underneath it for some reason. Uh-oh, I'm running, I guess. You know what? I may as well do it now. I'm so far ahead of him, or the other computer opponent, and... oh. That's good. Oh no! Ah, it put me right in front of the lamplight. we gotta use the last turbo there. The last turbo for this race. Because as I mentioned, they give you 3 of them, and then you can use them however you want in each race. But you have to wait till the next race in order to get another one. Though feasibly from what Electverse is telling me, since you can do upgrades, I'm wondering if in that game you can feasibly buy more nitros, or if they even have nitros as a concept in it. I think they would, feasibly, but I don't know, because I haven't played it. But at some point we will. I'm back. Alright, good to be back. We're going through, good to see you again. We're going through, I think, the Germany stuff now. On the final lap of, I think it was Frankfurt, which is an 8-lap run. So hopefully I should be able to handle this okay, and at least get 5th. But so far, we're doing okay. Honestly, Brazil was the one that gave me the most trouble, so... Yeah, and that was the second one. It's like, yeah, the third and the fourth ones are not giving me as much trouble. But, maybe it's just because I've been playing it more, or for longer now, maybe I'm more used to it. What'd you ask me? I asked... Oh, right, I asked about the concept of the nitros, because in this game, when you... Okay, I got 4th. In this game, you get 3 nitros you can use in a race, and you can't get any more until the next race. The next race will just give you 3. For Top Gear 2, do they give you the option to buy nitros in it? Okay, we've got second here. Alright, so next country is Roadhog. But yeah, in Top Gear 2, since you said there's upgrades for that, can you buy nitros along with it? So we're going to Sweden. Yes, you can. Okay. I mean, I would have thought so, but given how different a lot of the games in this series can be... Okay, fine, when you get off Super Nintendo feasibly, they can be. I wasn't sure if that was still a concept for it. Although, actually, no, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, Top Gear Overdrive on Nintendo 64 does have the nitro concepts. It was Top Gear Rally that did not, although feasibly I can understand that from the purpose of the kind of game it was. Although that game could have used it just because of how slow it felt. Alright, so yeah, here we're in Sweden with the snow around, so there we go. Not in a case we're seeing snow out, you know, as far as weather yet, but yeah, it does go to, as I've mentioned, how visually appealing this is. As far as the variety of what you're going to see and where you're going to go. Oh. Alright, as long as I'm going through this again, or going through this still... Actually, you know what? I'll ask another question, feasibly. What are your memories as far as the franchise? Is it mostly... I'm getting a sense it's either this one or the second game. But what are the other games in this series that you've played, or other ones that you've wanted to play, feasibly? Just to get an idea of what it is. And also, would you recommend have you played Top Gear 3000? Because I hear that's the expensive one, but I've also heard it's also good. Do you know of it, or if it is good, if it's worth the investment feasibly? Or what other games in the series might be worth playing aside from the second? Because the second one is going to be on the list of things to cover, for sure. I'm liking how this is. I have not. Okay. Yeah, I mean... Yeah, as I said, I guess I haven't played as many games of this franchise as it would seem either. But it seems like when you find... I guess maybe this is the idea. Maybe I should ask some other people I know about this. Of the ones they played, if any, is it also very, you know, specified into, like, a handful? Because sometimes when you get a... Okay, I think I just made it with 5th. Sometimes when you get a franchise like this, the idea is that, oh, you'll play it, people will play every game in it. But then with this one, I guess maybe from what I'm getting so far is the thought of either having not played it or played it and playing very specific, or only a couple entries as opposed to every one. I mean, although there are 14 games in the series, so feasibly, I mean, that's the idea of playing all of them that way, but, or getting the sense of, like, have you played all of them? And they weren't all on the same system, so that's the other capacity of that, too. But I am enjoying this experience for sure, and again, like, first, thank you for the recommendation. And full recommendation for Top Gear 2. Now this one. Now in Denmark, yes. So they say, this is Copenhagen, feasibly. And actually, you know, going back to the, I guess, the world fairing concept of this, I guess I'm kind of thinking of something like a Carmen Sandiego in the sense of the backgrounds kind of reflect the idea of, I guess, what some of the areas are, I guess, known for. You're welcome. Well, okay, again, I appreciate that very much. And I hope you're enjoying the show tonight and all the other shows that we've been doing. And I appreciate you adding to them and making them very special and unique and something I look forward to every week. So, again, thank you. But it does put you in the nice atmosphere. So, yeah, we're going all around the world. This is going to be the world tour of the racing game. We're going everywhere. Feasibly. I guess feasibly that'll also be the case with some of the other games we might be hitting as well. Actually, I think this is the first racing game, now I'm thinking about it, where they made a specific element or specific point of going to a specific area in the world. Whereas Wavery 64 was in unknown areas of sorts, although I guess you could kind of read some areas of where they were based on climate and things. And Sonic Ultra's Transformed, you're going all across Sega World, feasibly. But in this case, yeah, we're going the actual world. Alright, let's go across the world then. Whoa! I do like just how I am definitely getting into this in particular, because you can't necessarily see this, or maybe you're hearing it. I'm kind of like grasping the controller really tightly, even not even just the way I'm holding the A button, just the idea like, yeah, I gotta hold on to make this turn and get through it. And hopefully get to the end and first. I'm not gonna win, but I'll take it, it's fine. With second. So I think that goes to the appeal of a game like this, which is that you're so into it, like, oh god, I gotta hold on to this turn, I gotta make this, I gotta win, I gotta, get to the end and handle it. Alright, so here we are, we're in Helsinki, Finland. So here we are. So this is, I guess, the Europe perspective, feasibly. Because actually, one thing I guess I should have also mentioned is when you're going through the championship mode and you have a different, when you're going to the next area, you just go to the next one without seeing what it is specifically. Super Nintendo controller is my favorite. Yeah, I would say that too, as far as how it feels, especially just that. I'll say this: it definitely contours your hands really nicely, especially like how the placements of stuff, of buttons. And also of, like, the top triggers, which actually, I'm not using the top triggers for this only because I'm running automatic transmission, but from what I was noticing on this, use that for the shifting of the gears if you're running manual. But it does have, oh, you do go in the water. Okay, cool. So there's nice puddles you're running through. So that's very nice. But yeah, I do like this controller as well. It is very nice for a lot of different things, especially on this system as well. And especially for multiple buttons. Or playing something like a fighting game, or some other stuff where it makes sense to have a bunch of those buttons going around, you're in good shape. Especially for something like this as well. For this, I guess as far as a racing game's concerned, I guess most of the controllers I really like for racing games probably are ones that came later, like the Dreamcast controller for the triggers and things. And actually, I guess with Saturn, if you have the 3D controller, because it has the triggers on the back of it. But for this, for Super Nintendo, this is a nice way as far as this. Admittedly, I guess as far as racing games, most of the experience with it is Super Mario Kart as far as that on this system. But this one, yeah, it does have a nice feel to it. Or even the other control methods, because I'm playing with B as far as accelerating, but you can put it on X as well. And it also still feels pretty natural for it as well. Or the upside down option, which I gotta give them credit for. I don't know if I've ever seen a game that actually specifically turns that into an official controller option. But maybe Top Gear 2 has something like that as well. I guess if nothing else, I guess it goes to, from what I've understood, the offbeat nature of Gremlin Entertainment, or Gremlin Interactive as they were known. Particularly those Zool games, kind of this, like, Sonic the Hedgehog feel, but like this ninja creature guy. And then especially Loaded, if you ever played that on PlayStation, which is very weird, macabre, and bloody, kinda, I'm trying to remember, I sometimes get this one confused with, PO'd, which was also on PlayStation at the time. I think Loaded was like a top-down, like, shooting game, if I remember correctly. And a very early one on PlayStation. One I never played, but one I would be curious to play just because I'm thinking, like, alright, as I've mentioned, sometimes we'll look at elements of genres and of franchises, but also just of developers in a lot of ways. And sometimes the idea of, finding out what developers have made that you might not have known of. And Black First, I know you've contributed to that multiple times, and I've appreciated that with the Sonic Drift games, which when I did Tales of Adventure a couple weeks ago, I did find out that, yeah, Arc System Works made that one, or the second one, along with the first one. So sometimes that idea of, hey, did you know, like, the people who made one game made another one, and then kind of like the comparison of, okay, what's that style of it? In this case, I guess it's fitting we're starting here with Gremlin as far as the developers, but definitely a lot more than that came from, feasibly, on top of, you know, within the franchise itself. Okay, we can use this on 3. Wait, alright, it's on A. For some reason I thought X was the turbo all of a sudden, even though I was like, no, I'm using A the whole time. Woo. Gotta beat purple car. I think we can do it. Ooh. Alright, final lap. That would have been nice if that was not, or if that was the final lap already, but we can do it on the final lap here, or the actual final lap, I should say. Enjoying this really good music, because I'm really liking the more I'm hearing of it, especially some of the instrumentation of it, even like the kind of frantic nature, ding, 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 along with like the mixture of like the synthetic horns specifically to it. And it's also the kind of thing that, I've said this before, a lot of cases with the early cartridge systems, they have a specific sound to them. You can tell, like, oh, it's Super Nintendo, say. But in this case, I think I don't know, it does sound kind of maybe a little more advanced than that, in a way that doesn't sound like, oh, the stereotypical sound. It does kind of, you know, I guess, transcend that. Alright, so computer is doing way better than I am. Alright, so we qualify for the next country. Our next password is emulator. I guess... I wonder if this team was familiar with the concept of emulation was back in the day. But we're going to Paris, France. By the way, just to reiterate this, as far as this is not emulation. I am using the actual cartridge and the actual Super Nintendo for it. Not because I'm against emulation necessarily, but because I've never streamed to PC before, and in this case, like, well, I can just get the cartridge, we'll play it that way, and have the full experience. Because, as I've mentioned, the whole point of this show is play games that I want to play, or the chat wants to play, or wants to be seen played, and replicate the idea of what is it like sitting around with friends and family, playing a game, experiencing that game, talking about that game, and going into other aspects of it. So, that's kind of the reflection of where we're going with this, and what I like about what this show has become. Woo. And I think part of that is also having the original hardware when I can have it. I mean, to be fair, I played games when they're either in collections or something, because that's the only version of I have. So in that case, like, okay, fine, that makes sense. But for something like this, yeah, because these games have not necessarily been... Actually, alright, I'll go into that then. None of the Top Gear games, as far as I'm aware of, have been, you know, re-released or ported anywhere. I mean, okay, Top Gear 2 was on Sega Genesis as well, but it was another version made at the same time. But in the years, we have not seen another game for this, even like a re-release. Not, you know, whether it's the Wii or the Wii... Actually, I don't think this is on the Wii's Virtual Console, but, I'll have to look back at that. This game looks really good in terms of the colors. That is true, and that's what I'm liking very much in terms of what it is. Especially, it's a very colorful game. It's interesting, and I'll put this up on the YouTube site as I'm talking with this. If you look at the box art of this game, it's kind of, or the cartridge of the game, which is reflecting what the box is like, it's basically just kind of a muscle car surrounded by like orange, almost maybe like a sunset concept, or maybe like fire potentially. But it looks pretty basic, but it kind of didn't prepare me for how vibrant this game is and how it is utilizing those multiple colors that the Super Nintendo has. I think it can utilize 256 colors at once, I think. I know the Genesis was 64, but it was definitely quite a bit, and this uses them very nicely, as I mentioned, and even creating the atmosphere of the locations. I mean, even over there, I was like, yeah, there's the Eiffel Tower, because we're outside of Paris, feasibly. But I need to get going, because I can't be in a good shape. Move the wreck! Okay. Oh no, alright. Unfortunately, I am gonna wreck, because we're gonna fail. But I just started this one, so I think we can run as it is. Alright, so... Unfortunately, I failed. But at least this will give a perspective of where we are, because I went through like 2 of these without getting a sense of the locations. Or the overall locations. We're going all over the place, probably within continents, I think. I'll keep going until we finish every one. I think we're... Okay, we're in France, so we only have 3 left. So that'll take us probably to a good 3 hours for this. Alright, so let's go France again. And give it a shot. Alright, so we're back in Paris. So it was this the first race, so that's good. As opposed to getting the last one. And actually, that goes back to something, Dolly Finn, I know you were asking about this last week when we did Wave Race. Which was, I mentioned how for that game, actually technically this game's doing it too, which is, if you don't get the placement that you need to in order to qualify for the next round, you lose and you have to start all over again. I guess you're getting a sense this is what that's like if you're doing it in Wave Race or you're doing it in this one. So that's where the challenge is coming up, and in this case, being able to manage... Well, I mean, in this case, it's not really you have to get the points to advance, you have to get a placement to advance. Which is what Mario Kart does, although even Mario Kart gives you continues as you go along. But honestly, this goes fast enough that it's not really that much of a harsh penalty. It's not like, oh my god, I lost at the last one. Okay, you're gonna say that anyway, because, like, no, I have to start it over again. But it doesn't take too long to get back to where you were. So, I do get the sense this game is fair with that, and is fair with its difficulty in general. Although, this is what amateurs like. I wonder how championship is, or the hardest one. Or champion, whatever it is, whatever the highest one is. Although feasible, I guess we could do that at the end. Along with seeing what happens when you run out of gas, what is the hardest difficulty like? Just to get an idea, and then we can, then we will be good with the coverage of this game. Whoa! As I mentioned, in a lot of ways, I'm learning as much about this game as some in the chat might be, or others in the chat who might know this. And they're like, well, then I'm understanding it more as well. And I do love doing that, whether it's me seeing a game that way or showing other people that way. Just sometimes seeing their reaction. That can be the fun part. Even if it's like a bad game or something, it's like, okay, what's your reaction to that? In fact, actually, I'll go into the story then. We did that with my coworkers with Balan Wonderworld. They bought the Switch version, and, well, we knew it was a train wreck. I bought it on Xbox One, so we're going to show it here when we're showing that version. But yeah, playing on the Switch, oh my god, the frame rate is so bad on that. But it is hilariously so, and it is the kind of thing of understanding. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do? What's going on here? How do I have to do this? And then some of the comments of some of the people who played it saying, like, oh, by the way, you can jump, every button does the same thing. You hit the right trigger, you jump. It's like, what? And you hit it's like, oh no, oh my god, you're not joking. You actually can do that. But, yeah. Yeah, Balan Wonderworld will be an interesting one. It's not a horrible game specifically, because I played it. It was on, oh Christ, I lost again. But, just to go back to that, actually, okay, in this case, I'm gonna try to do on this one, because this is the first race. I don't want to, you know, quit to the next one when I'm failing on the first one. But to go back to the Balan Wonderworld case, there's potential to it, but it just seems so limiting more than anything about it. And I think, especially given the fact that it was made by Yuji Naka and Natao Oshima, you'd think, oh my god, this is gonna be great. Like Knights or Sonic. Or even Radiatus Sky Soldier. Well, Radiatus Sky Soldier on the Wii in particular. On the Wii U, oh boy. That's an experience, but we can get to that. And many other games we can get to, feasibly, if you're noticing that pattern. Yeah, that is an interesting case, and another idea of showing off different games, for sure. And I guess as far as Balan Wonderworld, because it was on sale, it was $20, like, okay, fine, that's a drop in the bucket for the purpose of that, as opposed to paying $60. If I paid $60 for that, I'd have been mad. But $20, I'm like, okay, fine. But it's also interesting in my case, because I saw the fact that one of my coworkers got the Switch version, then I can say, oh yeah, I played on Xbox One, and compare the different versions. Like I was mentioning with the Console Wars show, or like with Top Gear 2 on Genesis and Super Nintendo. Feasibly. I'll be sure to come better prepared for that feasibly whenever we do Top Gear 2, but I will do Super Nintendo because I think that for this, it seems like that's kind of the way to go for running this. Unless there might be a reason to do the Genesis game, or maybe if I do stuff with Genesis with that, I'll do those Lotus games. This is by the same people who made this. And it is, like first mentioning the Horizon Chase Turbo. That one will end as soon as I saw the Square Enix logo. I'm like, this game is fucked. Yeah, I know you were saying your perspective on Square, and it's funny, I do kind of understand that a bit more to a certain extent. Even more going on, because I'll go to one of the things, some of the stuff that came out at E3 again. Because they announced that they were doing the Final Fantasy Retro Collection, or they said it was Retro Collection. Like, they were like doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Or Final Fantasies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Re-releasing them with like pixel graphics, so it's more in the style of how they were before. Like, okay, cool. And then I think it was about 2 weeks or so ago, they said, oh, by the way, these are being sold piecemeal, and it's like a $70 element for both. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, why are they not in the collection, number one? Although, to be fair, given the cost of how they are on the original element, it's not a horrible price, but then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, why don't you just put it in the collection? It just seems weird. So, I mean, so in that way, it's like, I know, like, you mentioned, like, your perspective of being annoyed by what Square's doing. In fact, actually, when Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, or Remake Intergrade came out, yeah, actually, that was the case. Nocturna was on the show. She bought it. She was telling me, or actually, no, I was witnessing that when she got it. She was doing the setup on it. It was interesting, because I think the DLC case, because she got, I think, one of the deluxe editions of the PS4 edition that didn't have one piece of the DLC that was only for the digital version. Then for the Intergrade game, they made it available with the physical version, but then there's something else that's only with the digital version of that one. And she's saying, like, well, wait a minute, why can't I just get it all in one place or buy it all in one capacity? I think she was even saying that with the, what was it? With the, the DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3. The one that comes with the, comes with the concert thing. She's like, well, A, she hadn't played much of Kingdom Hearts 3, and B, it's like, it was like $40 as opposed to like 30 for the actual one. I think the DLC is on sale this week for like 23 for the Xbox system, or the Xbox One, which is where I have it, by the way. So if I was gonna get it, that would be going, but even then I'm thinking like, oh, maybe it's too much. And she's like, oh, I want to get a preview of what that's like. But I was like, well, no, you're paying more feasibly for it, compared to, say, what happened with the Sonic Symphony concert thing for the 30th anniversary with that, where it was a free thing given to people. I'm like, and to be fair, with Square, I'll say this, that's something I've noticed going back for years. Like, oh yeah, they know that people pay a lot of money for some of these other things feasibly, because like, well, hey, it's still a little cheaper than getting it in another fashion. But then the idea of like, wait a minute, if you're potentially going to be burned by some of those things, that might be a problem. Fuck Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, here's the thing. I liked it, what I played of it, but I also just kind of stopped playing it to a certain extent, not because I didn't like it, but, I don't know, I mean, explain to me, because here's the other thing, it's not just you who said to me, they're not liking the Kingdom Hearts 3. What is it necessarily that makes people not like it compared to the other ones? You see, I have the other ones. I was basically going to be playing through more of those before I go back to Kingdom Hearts 3 again, but I don't know necessarily where the anger is coming from to some degree. So in that way, it's like, I like to hear that. I was like, I like to hear what's the perspective of why to it. I mean, as I mentioned when I said that I liked what I played of it, admittingly, maybe it was because of, oh, we finally have it, and because there's voice acting everywhere, which is always something I was a little bit of a pet peeve of it on the other ones, and maybe liking the spectacle. But then it was like, well, alright, maybe I checked out of elements of the story. In fact, until semi-recently, I didn't have all the other ones to kind of get a perspective. Well, in fact, it was because it was the, because they didn't put, actually, this will go to another thing, this is an annoying thing for me, I guess this is coming the, we're annoyed with Square element, feasibly, the game just seemed unfinished. Which is interesting when you consider the fact that technically it was in development for a while. I mean, I guess unfinished in the sense that because they put DLC out for later for the story thing, for Remind, or unfinished in terms of the fact that it was... Because, here, question, what'd you play it on? What system? I played it on Xbox One, I know it was on PS4, and I think it's on PC now. Was it buggy on the other systems? Because it didn't seem buggy based on what I played of it on Xbox One. And we don't know if Xbox One was the system was apparently ran the worst on, compared to it on PS4. Unless you're on Series X, or either Series X or on Xbox One X. Which Xbox One X would be where we'd be playing it for the time being. Or any of the Kingdom Hearts stuff, because I have all the I have like the story so far stuff, or the 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8 on this. Although it was digital only on this, and it was like the pricing was insane. And it was only until they put it on a discount, I was like, okay, now I'm taking this, because like this is now about how much it costs on the PS4. So I'm like, okay, give me that one. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what you're saying in terms of it being unfinished and why. Because, yeah, I mean, yeah, but in that case, I'm curious, I guess, because feasibly, I guess it sounds like you played it maybe more than I have. Not like I didn't, you know, put it down instantly, put it down out of disgust. It was like, I played it, and then I stopped, and I played something else. And I was telling this to friends, like, oh yeah, sometimes I just have to stick with a game feasibly. I have to kind of put myself into it. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is tough, because it looks like those, signs there getting in the way. Oh, there's the pit on the hill. The story's rushed, the abilities are overpowered, and the levels are gimmicky. Okay. Okay, I'll give you this on the abilities feeling overpowered, in the sense that I do get the sense that kind of we're focusing on the spectacle. I mean, I thought it was cool seeing some of that spectacle, the idea of, like, you know, the flying ship thing from Disney World, but I also understand how, wait a minute, if you have that too much, you use it more. And I did use it a lot in where I played it in the game. And I'm like, okay, maybe then the perspective is it's making you be able to overpower the game more than you would like to. As opposed, like, for example, going through an easier difficulty, say, or the bosses were uninspired as well. I mean, I like the first boss in particular when you're in the Hercules world. I mean, I like the feel of that one, running up the hills and all that. That was cool, although some of the other ones later, that I'm not sure, so that might be the case. I mean, I guess feasibly going back to the Remind concept, it was like, well, okay, there's the DLC, and it's still story-based, but the idea still felt unfinished. I mean, I'll definitely see what we can do as far as just, well, I'll be playing through more of it to get a better sense of how I feel about it. But then also, I guess when we get to Kingdom Hearts, although when we do get to Kingdom Hearts, we're going to go in order feasibly. We're going to go with the first one to start, and then we'll go with some of the other ones to that, if we're going to go about that. And I'll also do that, I guess, when I get the current RPG we're doing done first, which is Super Mario RPG. I don't know, do you want to see Kingdom Hearts then as the next one, feasibly? And I guess, do you want to start with one specifically as well? And also, if you want to start with one, I also have one on PlayStation 2. Do you want to see it on that, or do you want to see the 1.5 version? Although, you know, actually, no, I'm thinking about that. I know they have the questions as far as how licensing things with that game might be, so I might have to look into that, but I don't know, would that be something you want to see? One of the other ones? Or something else? Or feasibly what you want the next RPG for me to do is? Or do you want me to do Kingdom Hearts 3 so we can feasibly rag on it, or I can feasibly understand what you mean when you say, oh, you have problems with it? Because I'd be willing to do that too. I'd be willing to play a game that, hey, you don't like, just to get a perspective of that, and for me to understand it. Kingdom Hearts 3 is 10 times worse in terms of how it plays. Okay, so you're not even big on 2. Mainly, my issue with 2 is more how it opens, and how it kind of handles its balance of cutscene and gameplay, although... Okay, so would you... Alright, then... But I like this. I like the idea we're getting a discussion on this, and for a game like this where we're playing, and it's, in some ways, something that we all are getting a sense of, going into other perspectives. What would you say is your favorite game in that series? Would it be the first one? Or would it be one of the other ones, feasibly? I mean, mainly in my case, I've only played 1, 2, and 3, despite the fact that I have all those collections. But I've been kind of going in order. Alright, I play a little bit of the Chain of Memories. That's more of a question to me of the gameplay. Uh-oh. I missed the pit. This might be a concern. Uh-oh. And it's the end of the race. Uh-oh. Let's see if we can make this. Yeah, this is gonna be close. Oh. Alright, this is gonna be very tight. I'm either gonna just make this or not make it at all, or just make the pit feasibly. Or, okay, fine, we're gonna make this. We're just gonna make this, I think. Come on, come on. Woo, alright, good. There we go. So there's something positive. We were able to get through that with literally no gas left. Awesome. Alright. Alright, we're in Bordeaux. I like Kingdom Hearts 2, but Kingdom Hearts 3 did not take what worked in that and made the issues that Kingdom Hearts 2 had worse. Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Compared to the first one, Kingdom Hearts 2 does kind of focus on the spectacle in terms of how it plays. I think it plays better because there's more variety in its combat in particular. That's the one thing about 2 that I like more, but I also get the idea of, hey, maybe there's so much there that... I mean, I guess here's the question then. What would be the answer to fixing something like the problems that 2 and 3 had? Would it be limiting the abilities more, making them so that they're not as, you know, I guess, overpowered or feeling like, oh yeah, you can use them and get through a situation easily? I guess the idea is, so the challenge is not consistent. Like, oh, it's making it too easy. I guess feasibly even if you play on the Proud mode, although I guess in the Proud mode, feasibly that balances out by the fact that everything's going to kill you a lot quicker. Although I don't know how the Proud mode is on 3 because I've never played on Proud mode. Actually, I'm playing through 1 on the Proud mode, honestly. And I'm realizing, okay, I have to be really very specific on how I'm handling that to get through that without dying. And it is pretty satisfying, but also makes you really, you know, tense. We get to the point you're getting yourself hurt and you're going that, weed, like, oh shit, I'm gonna die. Let me get myself taken care of. And usually Goofy and Donald are dead on the field, so like, okay, I can't do much now. So I guess that's the Proud mode feel in Kingdom Hearts 1, but in 2 and 3, I don't know. The reaction commands and make the forms more balanced. Okay, yeah, I get that. I mean, yeah, because I know the action commands, it kind of, in a weird way, turned it almost to like God of War, which I like that idea, and I like they gave me more of it, but then wait a minute, maybe it's too much of it. Okay. Actually, I guess in that case, aside from 2 and 3, what were the other, did the other ones use the drive forms, and if so, did they balance them better? Because I know there was the one on the PSP, what was it, Birth by Sleep, that used that? I don't know if it did it. I joined tonight, thank you. Well, thank you very much, Dolly Finn, for showing up to the show, and the rest of this will be up on the YouTube site in a couple of days. Take care, and have a good night. Oh. I guess in my case, going back to the Kingdom Hearts thing, is like, I've only played the first 3 extensively, so like, I have the other ones, but like, I gotta dig into them feasibly. A similar concept, okay, with Birth by Sleep. Okay, gotcha. Oh, so basically, I guess what you're telling me is that the drive form element and the command element were things that they kind of played that way, and I guess they pretty much kept it the same way going forward. Or they made you go ARG, feasibly, if you want to look at it that way. Because of the fact, like, wait, no, I guess you would want more of a challenge or more of a... It's something like taking the challenge out feasibly. Gotcha. Okay, woo. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense then. So it's like, okay, question on mechanics. Because actually, there's another thing. I know some of the people coming in the show, you and other ones, will talk about what's the idea of what a game mechanic is and how that can be beneficial to the game or not. Like, for example, with Top Gear, we're talking about the gas concept, the idea that we're going in to the pit stop, we're making the determination on how much gas do I want to refill so that I don't lose place, but also am able to get to the end of the race without having to do it again. Like now, for example. But then the idea of something like Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 with I have the drive, I have the commands, but then it's making you feel too overpowered. I mean, actually, I guess here's the thing about that, the thing with the Kingdom Hearts, is that with the first one in particular, because I have beaten the first one, that's the only one I've beaten in particular, but with the first one at least, it does give you a good perspective of, I guess, building the idea of Sora being new with the whole Keyblade concept, and the idea of growing over time. And I guess then, feasibly, I guess with 2, you could make the case that, and I guess maybe this contextualizes my problem with 2 above anything, which is how it opens, because, like, it's taking so long to go through the opening, where I'm basically playing only 50 minutes of its 5 hours, and I timed that, at least on the PS2 that was the case, and, like, I don't get the sense I'm seeing where the enhancements were coming from, but then again, building that idea of you're starting, I don't know if weak is the right word, but you're starting without the power you get later, but then the idea that it's not scaling it properly, feasibly. It's like, okay, you start with little to nothing with 2, with Roxas, and then Sora comes into the picture, and then there you go. I skipped the intro in 2. Can you skip the intro in 2? Or, I guess, the HD version let you do that. I know they added more for that, so I'm thinking, okay, I failed again. Let's try one more time, and then, or, you know what? Let's go to the next one. What do I have next that I haven't done? Just to be able to keep things moving and show off everything, because I got pretty far on that one. Alright, that was, I think, France. So next on the docket, we have Italy and the UK. Alright, so let's go to Italy. Let's do what we're doing with Kingdom Hearts now, which is Analyzer. Wait. Oh, Y. Okay. Spelling fail there, but there we go. Nobody saw that. Alright, there we go. So we're going to Italy now. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Actually, can I go back in this? Oh, okay, no, I can't. Just keep hitting B to go through. Alright, there we go. Alright, let's go back and get to this. Alright, we're going to Pisa. Skip. Oh, skip. Oh, right, the cutscene skip. Yeah, you're right. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, because that was in the PS2 version as well. Yeah, it's funny, when I first played it, because I played Kingdom Hearts 2 when it came out in 2006, and the thing was that I guess first time through, I didn't skip the cutscenes because I was thinking, well, I want to see how the story is, although I also did the other thing, which is, I didn't play Chain of Memories. Even though I had a Game Boy Advance, I didn't play it. And then so I came into 2, I was like, wait, who's Roxas? Or, I'll tell you, we mentioned the Super Gaming Brothers channel and Some Call Me Johnny channel. His review of Kingdom Hearts 2, I think, put it perfectly. I'm just going to go back into that, which is when he was saying his friend from Pennsylvania, Russ, came by, who also was in the Balan Wonderworld review. When I finished 3, I felt nothing. I guess that's the other concept. Like, hey, you want to feel something, especially when you're, you know, waiting for a game like that for 13 years. So I get that. So, alright, there you go. I get that. You're like, that's it. You're basically, you're kind of done with it. You're like, oh yeah. And I'll say this. It's like, well, at that point, it's like, okay, that explains it better. It's like, well, yeah, if you didn't like it that much, why get the DLC, which you mentioned we did Metal Gear Solid. But yeah, I think going back to that thing with the Kingdom Hearts, yeah, they put that into perspective perfectly. It was like, Ross is coming in saying about what's going on with this game and saying, like, what is that, like, wait, who is this? He's like, oh shit, this is a mistake because, like, he didn't play Chain of Memories. I keep telling him it was a Chain of Memories. Like, who's this girl here? Who's this nominated chick? What's going on here? Where's Sora? Where's Goofy and Donald going after the letter with Pluto? He's like, good enough, it's going into Chain of Memories. And then he says, like, looks like my summer is over. And then the logo comes up and then they just say in perfect unison, that was the intro? Which I think was the idea of, like, everybody looking at that game. But I didn't want to skip the cutscenes because, like, well, the first time anyway, because, like, well, no, I want to see where the story's going. I guess technically I can't skip the cutscenes feasibly in the HD version because I know they added new story stuff and I haven't played it through in years. So I'm like, okay, I gotta face that demon again feasibly. It's the top of your alley Nintendo 64 concept. Like, well, no, we'll face the demon. You know what? Let's see if I can figure out, or they're not gonna complain about licensing thing. We do Kingdom Hearts 2, that's where we face the demon. I waited for 7 years since Dream Drop Distance, and I followed the series since the original. So I guess it's the idea that because you were so into it for that long, and I'll say this, that's what I'll say on Kingdom Hearts in particular, is that I always got the sense that Kingdom Hearts, as a franchise, like, okay, we played the first one, great, next game, okay, here's the one on Game Boy Advance, okay, where's 2? And it's like, okay, here's 2, only 1. It didn't look like the 1, but then it's like, alright, there's 2, but then it's like, alright, when's 3 coming out? But it kept spinning off all over the place, and it's technically spinning off again with the music game, of all things. And to be fair, it sounds like I'm mad at that. I mean, I'm not necessarily, it's just more of a bewilderment. And how much of that, I guess, is a, you know, a Square thing. But, I mean, I get that idea. I mean, maybe the thought of, well, is that, and that might be the fear now of, like, people saying with the Square, which is that, alright, is it just going to be, oh, that's going to be what it is with everything. Although, I will say with the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, that one, I do think, does a good job of, you know, giving a good amount of things to, you know, tide you over without necessarily giving you a sense of, oh yeah, you're gonna feel at the end of it like, oh, this wasn't worth it. You're gonna feel like, no, I wasted my time feasibly, or like, oh, I didn't feel like my dedication was being paid off. I mean, in some cases with Kingdom Hearts, I get that sense. It almost came more of an annoyance, but then it's also the kind of thing like, well, I probably should play these things to get that perspective, at least. Which we can, because I have all the stuff we can play, although, except the 2 on the DS, or the, yeah, the 2 on the DS, the 358 over 2 days, and Recoded. Because those are cutscenes only, feasibly, as far as the HD release. But I get that idea. Nomura needs to step down as the director. Yeah, I mean... Well, see, that's the weird thing, though, because he directs the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and honestly, I don't think that falls under the pitfalls that Kingdom Hearts tends to, in a lot of ways. Even in terms of how it's, like, doing story stuff with that. So, in that way, I mean, I get to that. Although, I guess here's the question, then. Because there was the music game, the Magic and Melody. Because I know that ties in story-wise with 3. And remind, is there other places to go story-wise with Kingdom Hearts? I mean, I guess there are, easily. But, I mean, I guess we'll see that. I mean, I was reading Final Fantasy 15. Oh, right, the DLC that came with 15. I mean, to be fair, I mean, with 15, you're like, okay, they're done with 15, with what they're doing. They're going to 16 next. I mean, I have 15. Like, with some of the other ones, I didn't play. I mean, I have it. I bought it dirt cheap, the Royal Edition, when I found it on sale last year. I played it, and I liked it, but it's also something that I didn't necessarily play it as much. Again, like Kingdom Hearts 3, and not necessarily because, oh, I didn't like what I was playing. I just put it down specifically. It was like, I think it's one of those things that I should just force myself to go through it for the experience anyway, and also because then I can get a perspective of it. But with Final Fantasy 15, I have everything on board to get a sense of, like, alright, what's the problem? And feasibly, do I agree that it got ruined feasibly? Just, I don't know feasibly about that. I also don't know what 16 is, or if he's directing 16. Or how 16 is going to be, as is. But yeah, I guess it is weird to that, and I also, I guess, get the perspective, like, hey, if you're connected to something with that, that could be a question. And I've said that sometimes with Sonic, with the idea of, the thought of, I mentioned when we did Shadow the Hedgehog at the beginning, I kind of got a little sort of angry when I was saying about, Tatsuma Iizuka, the guy who runs the franchise. It's like, oftentimes he's, quote, ran straight into the fucking ground, but in, I guess, feasibly the thought of, like, even with something like Sonic Forces when that came out, it came off of Sonic Mania, which was great, and Forces was a decent game, but like you were saying, it felt like, that. Okay, you want to talk about something that felt like it was kind of unfinished. I'd say that did, but not even because it was broken, just because, like, I'm at the end of the level, but, like, it feels like it's just getting started. Just a thought, like, okay, then what's the next thing? And I guess feasibly we'll see what happens as far as what's going on with Sonic, but I guess with Kingdom Hearts, and I guess with Final Fantasy 15 or Final Fantasy anything feasibly, it kind of gets that question. And I guess also with Square, we've mentioned this before, the idea of that lineage and the thought of, well, what's that about? I mean, I guess it's funny because I'll give you this too. I don't necessarily think of Square the same way I used to, in that, yeah, usually they're noted for, like, Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts and things, but honestly now I kind of more think of them for stuff like Tomb Raider and Life is Strange, and I love those games, for sure, but they are something different, and they are the kind of thing that's also, I like the idea of them being able to balance both of them, but I guess the idea is if it's gonna suffer feasibly one way or another, or not give us a sense of that for both ways, that can be a problem. But I will say, I mean, again, if anything else, I'll just say this, I guess this is the note to Square, we don't hate you feasibly, we love what you were particularly, but if anything else, is the kind of thing that, what you're doing with the Final Fantasy VII Remake thing, keep that up feasibly, that kind of goes to that feasibly. I still can say that Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15 are the worst RPGs played. That's the thing, I don't even think they're bad games necessarily, and that doesn't sound like even you're saying that. I mean, alright, in that case, what would you say is a bad RPG? Whether it's Square or anybody else, feasibly. For me, oh god, I don't know how to answer that feasibly. I mean, I remember playing Quest 64 growing up. Not much. I remember not liking it very much, but I don't know if that's really as horrible as people say it is, or if it's just that I was younger, I didn't play it, and was like, yeah, I kind of lost interest, and then got the perspective like, oh god, it wasn't that great, I'm going to go back at it. Or feasibly, I guess, many of the RPGs on that system, from what I've understood, like Adian Chronicles The First Mage, which I've heard is also really bad, but, I don't know why. Persona 5! Oh, wow, really? Okay. That's a shock. I'm kind of surprised at that. Is the same element as Kingdom Hearts, in the sense of... okay, I'll tell you this. I know you've mentioned before. I know you mentioned how much you love Persona 3, in particular, above a lot of the other... or Persona 3 and 4, I think you mentioned 4, specifically. But yeah. Is it like Kingdom Hearts 3, where you have that attachment to it specifically, and then it's just that, hey, it goes in a different direction, and it kind of, you know, deflates you? I mean, that's an interesting case. I mean, there's something to be said about the fact of, hey, you love a franchise, and this is, I'll say this, this is not, because sometimes maybe the thought, I mean, I don't know if people are going to come to this on the YouTube site feasibly. It's a kind of case. Okay, gotcha. But see, if you're coming to the YouTube site, because, look, I'll say this. There's the stereotype that gamers are feasibly whiny fanboys or fangirls who don't like change of things. But you know what? But I am not getting that from the discussion I'm having, and I think the idea is that we're not saying that specifically. We're saying, well, like first, you're saying you love Kingdom Hearts, you love what 2 does, you like the ideas of what 3 is doing, but you have such a strong connection to this. You're like, well, if there's certain aspects of it that kind of dilute the experience, that kind of can be something that, even if it's not necessarily like a total train wreck, it's something that you're kind of disappointed to, and the idea is that you can be objective about that despite the fact that you have this strong connection, because it's easy to say, like, oh, I love Kingdom Hearts, so I love all of them. Or it's like, oh, I hate Kingdom Hearts, so I hate all of them. It's like, no, that's not what this is, and I think, I'll go to this, for what I'm saying with this channel, this show. I mentioned we get into the guts of gaming here, and I think this is what I'm talking about. Examples like this, examples like when we did Mean Bean Machine, a lot of these other things, we're going into what do we feel about a franchise in terms of, even with Top Gear, I mentioned this, I don't like Top Gear Rally on Nintendo 64, but I'm liking this one. I liked Overdrive. But then the idea of really giving this holistic look at a franchise and the idea of, if not anything else, and this is what I hope people who get attracted to the show get attracted to, the idea that I and people in chat clearly adore gaming. We still, and like coworkers of mine, friends, family, they love gaming completely. Like, and it's the kind of thing that they take it very seriously, but they take it very seriously in a way that shows a level of intelligence and thought, because it's not always easy to, come to something and really kind of put a thought on that, and that's really what I want to do with this show above anything else. I don't like the characters, the combat is too easy, and the way the story's structured as a problem, and the music is meh. Okay. Alright, so, and that's another case of a franchise I don't have a whole lot of familiarity with. My only familiarity is with Persona Q2 New Cinema Labyrinth on 3DS, which I only bought, admittingly, because I was like, this is going to get expensive to find. Someone said to me, I tried to buy this from GameStop. I had to go all over the place to find it, and it had just come out. Like, uh-oh, I better grab this. But, okay. So, in that case, like, well, I need to start looking at stuff in Persona. I definitely need to do that, especially as far as since I have PlayStation 3, so I can get 1 and 2 really cheap off of that, and then get 3 and 4. And, I don't know if I even have anything that plays 5. I think 5 was PS4, PS5, yes? And there's the rumor they're putting on Switch, but that's never happened. So I don't know if I even have a console to play 5, feasibly. But, yeah, at some point we will do Persona, because everybody's telling me how amazing it is. Like, yeah, you're right, that's one of those, I gotta play it. I can't ignore it any longer. It's not even like I ignored it, it's just like, I just never got around to it. It's like, well, let's not do that anymore. Let's get through to that, or play it. And then go into the elements of discussions, and that's the element of this channel, and I love that. And I love, thank you very much, Electrus. I can't tell you how much it means, the fact that you're getting into this, you're as interested in this feasibly as I am, and that we're able to kind of go into these discussions and understand elements of how we're feeling with games, game franchises, and what is it that necessarily makes us love games or not love other games. And I do appreciate that very much. But yeah, alright, so, but that's, and I like kind of hearing that in some ways, because it's not going to be the kind of thing where, I'll say this, sometimes I know people might have mentioned, like, oh, they don't like a game that maybe I like, or I don't like a game that other people like. I like that. I like the idea that someone come and say, like, oh, I don't like Persona 5. A lot of people say, like, oh, get away, what's wrong with you? It's like, no, I want to hear what you're saying. Every time I hear someone giving it a praise, I just don't get it. And given what you're saying, I can get what you're saying, and, well, alright. I guess she's excited about that too, breaking out the champagne feasibly, so we'll get the next country to the horizons, and we're expanding our horizons feasibly, going to London, England. But, and sometimes that can be the case too. It's like, well, and sometimes you can sometimes feel the odd person out when it's like, alright, everybody loves something, but then you're kind of not agreeing, and then sometimes it can be kind of a little bit of a, I guess, maybe a nerve-wracking case, or more of a awkward case. It's like, well, wait a minute, how do I say to them, oh, I don't agree, without making them hate me feasibly? And in some ways, I mean, that's maybe more of a handling people case above anything else. But then just the idea of, because I'll tell you, even when I, like, vigorously disagree with people in terms of something, the first thing whenever they say that I disagree with them on something, game-wise, movie-wise, really anything-wise, my first question is, why? Because I always want to understand it. Because there's times, like, I'll say things like, oh, I have a hot take or something, or, oh, I don't like certain things, or certain games, or whatever it might be. Be like, oh my god, what? You'd think, like, oh, they think what's wrong with you. It's like, if anything else, and I think it sounds like you're this case too, as far as what you want to do, is like, you always want to give it an explanation to people to give a sense of, alright, so, even if they totally disagree with what you're saying on whatever it might be, whether Persona 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, anything, that they can at least understand somehow where you're coming from, even if they totally disagree with you. Which is kind of where I go to that, in that way. And so in that perspective, I like that. And I like the idea that, I mean, and I guess but that is an interesting idea as far as maybe expectations things, because with Persona, I mean, Persona was a cult thing initially with the first two on PlayStation, and when 3 came out, 3 really exploded massively. And at that point, it's like, whenever there's a Persona game, people say, oh, they're awesome. And so it's kind of, maybe in a way, clouding my judgment in the sense of, okay, I'm playing these things, so if I play them and I don't like them, like, I might say, like, well, what's all the fuss about? Although I liked what I played of New Cinema Labyrinth, specifically, even though I know it's a totally different kind of game. It's like a dungeon crawler, kind of, compared to how the other ones are. And I think also maybe with Persona, it's also the kind of thing that maybe also it's going against 3 and 4. Because 3 and 4, are, from my understanding, are so damn good that sometimes it's that idea of, you know, you being your own worst enemy as far as, like, a game developer. Like, how do you top something like that? And sometimes, like, you feel like, oh, they can't top that, or they don't top that. So, there you go. And in that case, try to give it a chance multiple times, and even the Royal Edition sinking 30 hours into it. So, there you go. I mean, you wanna... I mean, honestly, I'll say this one, and correct me if this isn't right. I get the sense you wanted to adore that because you love 3 and 4 in particular from what you're telling me. I don't know if you ever played 1 and 2 or any of the other ones, but it sounds like, yeah, like, I want to give this a chance, damn it. I don't want to say that, oh, I don't like this. I want to see, like, what am I missing? What is it? And right there, like, that shows the dedication to that. And sometimes, like, well, yeah, it comes out, and you might think, like, well, I wasted my time, but then again, maybe you didn't, in the sense that you have that perspective of being able to explain it out of what you're thinking about it and why. And I love that. And I do appreciate hearing that idea and kind of broadening my horizon a bit. I mean, maybe it's the thought of, like, taking the idea of, oh, it's common knowledge, or it's, like, an established fact that Persona 5 is awesome. Like, well, okay, here's someone saying no because this, and this, and saying I gave it 30 hours and I bought the game twice to give it another shot. Because sometimes that's the case. I'll sometimes come to a game, I'll say, like, you know, I really didn't like it the first time, and then I play it and I like it a little more. Actually, Vector Man. I mentioned that when we did Tales of Adventure a few weeks ago. I said, first time I played Vector Man, I said to I was like, this seems like Sega is, and they were, to a certain extent, pulling from Donkey Kong Country with the CG graphics because the 32X faltered so badly, the Sega CD didn't do great, the Saturn was doing badly. They said at the time, they said, we're discontinuing everything we're doing on every system because we think the Saturn's going to be the next big thing, and the US it wasn't. So at that point, it's like, oh, they come crawling back to the Sega Genesis, and this is the game that gets the attention with those graphics, and they ignore something like Rystar, which is a terrific game, in particular, that came at the same time. Though, and that's why I felt like, I was like, people like Infection, but like, I don't get where that's coming from. It felt so soulless to me. Though, over the years, I didn't play it again, I was like, well, okay, I like it more now, and actually I like its sequel way more, which is another case where people don't agree with me. It was like, oh, that's great, I'll lay it out in terms of why. So I get that idea of, like, the shifting perspectives then, but also the idea is like, well, look, I'm not going to necessarily say, like, oh, this game is irredeemable, or any of these things are irredeemable. I'll try it and see what I can do. It sounds like that's where you're coming from as well. I mean, I bought Super 64, for God's sake. It's like, I know that game is bad. It was like, well, we're going to give it a play anyway at some point. I wasted time and bought at $30 by buying this, and the only other times I played it was my brother's friend's copy. And I guess that can also get to the idea of, like, well, when do you get to the point where, like, oh yeah, I wasted money that way, and when is it really going to be a big problem, feasibly? I guess it also goes to the idea of, like, hey, selling a game feasibly if you don't like it. Although in my case, technically, I don't tend to sell games anymore, only because, like, well, they might become more expensive, and just like, well, I'll have it there just for the purpose of it. Even, like, really bad game, I mentioned Superman. Not that it's an expensive game, still I have it to be able to show people that, hey, that's it. I mean, it's funny, people think I'm weird now of, like, buying games that are supposed to be bad. Like, no, I want to show people. I want to see, like, let's get a sense of this. Ones that is more clear-cut, feasibly. I mean, I was mentioning Bubsy 3D to people, and I'm going to assume people in chat are going to say, like, no, you're suicidal. Like, yeah, I know. Game-wise, yes, I get that. I completely understand that, and I'm at peace with that. But it is an interesting case, and in that way, I mean, but it also lets us look at some of these other things, as I said, because it kind of makes a better perspective of something like that, where it's like, alright, there are other people out there who have a different layout of something, and they can also, you know, explain it effectively. And I'll say this, I've mentioned the idea of, like, film criticism or any criticism of sorts, and I mentioned Roger Ebert a couple times, who I met, actually, by the way, before his passing in 2013. He mentioned once, he said, the skill of any critic of anything is if you can write a review or express your opinion of what it is, no matter what it is, and people look at it, if that gives them the perspective of whether they themselves would personally like it or not, whether they agree with you or not, that's a sign of someone who's very smart and perceptive and someone who is very effective as far as criticism. And from what I'm getting, Lekverse, that sounds like that's you to a T. And that's something that you should definitely be proud of yourself for and hold on to. Because then you can explain to yourself, like, why. Instead of, you know, people getting mad, like, no, here's why. And even people, like, say, like, well, they might even say, like, hey, I like 3 and 4 better. Because it sounds like that might be the perspective. And I'll say this, I don't know if I've actually heard of people who necessarily like 5 better than they like 3 and 4 so much. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know necessarily what the beloved games in that series completely are. Well, okay, fine. 3, 4 to a certain extent. I know I've also heard a lot about Persona 2 Eternal Punishment, which is the PlayStation game. So, it seems like those are the ones that people really like, but I don't know necessarily like, oh yeah, what's the bad one necessarily? Okay, there's Gremlin. Alright, so there is developer. They do have their billboards, and I do like when games do that. Give respect to it. Oh, it looks like I'm going way faster just going down this hill. Whoa! That is just a lot of hills and a lot of curves. Yeah, because there is a Top Gear racing game going on the screen, but that's fine. And I do like the idea of a game like this where you can play it and kind of talk at the same time and kind of branch out. Keeps it from being repetitive, as I mentioned. Thanks to you, Lekverse, thanks to you, chat, and I guess thanks to me, feasibly, with some of the weird shit I bring up. You never know what you're going to get on this show. And that's the reason I like it so much, and even though it's a small audience, I'm fine with that. This is something very special for that very reason, because it is not like other streams you could be watching. And I'll keep going with this stuff, for sure. I'll keep doing this every week. And I will keep giving you my damnedest as far as what you want to see, and put in the effort to that as far as, you know, making sure that we're going to go into stuff you want to talk about gaming-wise, about the game you're seeing, or what games you want. So, there you go. This is definitely a unique kind of gaming stream and gaming show. And I thank you very much, chat, and Lekverse, especially tonight, for helping to make it that way. I hope Persona 6 will be better. They announced that, yes? That's coming soon? Or at some point? I guess they said they're announcing that, yeah? But I don't know if they've actually shown stuff about it, or just that, oh yeah, it's coming. Because I mentioned that perspective that, hey, they'll announce a game as far as, okay, we're making it, but we don't have anything to show yet. Like Metroid Prime 4, for example, where they said, okay, we're making it. We have a teaser, but there's nothing with the game, really. And then, like, elements of the development going back and forth, like, okay, when are we going to see something about it? But, I mean, I guess that's going to be the idea, and that's always, I guess, the other thing. I mean, feasibly with something like that, it's the idea that, hey, you still have the hope in the next one, because, I mean, it sounds to me like you didn't want to dislike these games you're mentioning you don't like. Clearly, I mean, it's like me with the Sonic games. Like, even with the ones they're saying bad, like, I didn't want Sonic 06 to be a bad game. I didn't want Shadow the Hedgehog to be not very good. Although, honestly, I made it better. Feasibly, I kind of liked it better just because of the experience we had playing it. Or even just the idea of, in fact, even the idea of, I might do the super hard mode at some point, just because. I might come back to that game just because I feel like, you know, maybe we should show that off. Just the purpose of that. I didn't want, you know, the Sonic Boom games to go. In fact, here's another, different opinion. The Sonic Boom games. I played the first two that came out. The Rise of Lyric on Wii U and the Shattered Crystal on 3DS. Beware Monster. Okay, I think that's a reference to an older game of Gremlins, but to go back to that, I think Shattered Crystal's the worse game than Rise of the Lyric, even though Rise of the Lyric has the problems with its tech, for sure. Including the patch they had to add to that was bigger than the game download was off of the Wii U shop. But even with that, it's like, I like that better than the other one, the Wii 3DS game, because at least the Wii U game was not necessarily tying itself so much to the way Sonic played. It did play a bit different. I mean, it's a different argument, like, don't you want it the other way, like running fast? But in the case of the Shattered Crystal game, it's like, oh, I'm running fast, but it feels like I'm stopping a lot, or like the way the design of it is, I have a big problem with that. And I didn't even play the Fire and Ice game, but I heard that made it better, but I was like, well, yeah, I don't know, because like I didn't like the last one. But still thought like, yeah, I didn't necessarily want those games to be not good. It's like you're going into a game hoping, like, I'm spending my money on something, like, you want it to be great, especially when it's a series you have a connection with. So in that case, like, well, and then that's where, ouch. Yeah, you have an ouch experience when you realize, oh, wait a minute, it's not something I'm liking. And you feel that perspective. In some ways, it's the idea that sometimes even a game like that with the problems like that can sometimes be more offensive to you than even something like a Superman 64. It's like, oh yeah, this is a total train wreck. Or, as I mentioned, bad ports of great games. I've mentioned the idea that we played stuff like Sonic the Hedgehog and Pitfall, My Adventure, but then the idea of, like, porting the bad ports of them on stuff like Game Boy Advance, like, that's when I get really mad. It's like, this should be easy to take that game and do it great again, but they don't. And it's kind of an annoyance that way. Oh, well, here's an interesting case. We get to go to Stonehenge. So insert all of your, this is Spinal Tap, quotations right here. After all, I'm gonna botch this, but long ago, right at the dawn of history, there lived a mystical race of people, the Druids. No one knew what they were, or what they were doing, but they carved their great naming into the rocks of Stonehenge. And then, of course, you get the guitar going, Stonehenge, where the trees are low. I don't remember that, unfortunately, but I should, because I love that movie and I love that song. And, of course, the middle of it, when you have the Irish jig going, the it's so good. Unfortunately, there's not a game based on This is Spinal Tap that I'm aware of, unless, chat, you want to correct me if there is, in which case I'll be like, yeah, give me that, I want it. Or any Christopher Guest element, or, well, Rob Ryder directed the picture, but Christopher Guest wrote it and was involved in it. Yeah, but that's another thing, I get into that perspective just because it reminds me of something with that game. It gives me another chance to talk about how amazing This is Spinal Tap is if you've never seen that movie. It definitely goes up to 11. Now, okay, everyone knows that about that movie, but whether they've seen the movie is the question or not, although people have mentioned that. Or people mention they've seen that movie, but like, yeah. So basically that's the other... Okay, so this Top Gear playthrough has gone a lot of different ways. Elements of the discussion of the franchise, elements of why this is a good game, and why it's worth checking out if you're a Super Nintendo player. The promise that we're going to be doing the second game at some point, and I'll definitely get a copy of that for sure, so we can just take a look at it. Going in terms of what we think on this other elements of the franchise, not liking other elements of the franchise, not liking games in established franchises that we love, and talking about This is Spinal Tap. So again, you never know what you're going to get on this program. Oh, yeah, except I crashed into the rock. I got the final lap. Yeah, in this case, I don't want to get 11th place or go to 11 on this one because, yeah, I will be out. But yeah, if we can win, that would be nice. Whoa. Almost there at the end of this one, easily. There we go. Nice win on the Stonehenge track. And I don't know, I'm getting the sense that we might be near the end of this. Okay, yeah, it is. Complete Top Gear, but you can win on the professional. I don't know. Alright, so that is it then. But we're not done with this game quite yet, because we've shown, I guess, all the courses off, but I do want to take a look at another thing. We're going to go into the championship mode, or the difficult element of it. We're gonna see what happens when we run out of gas. And we're gonna... let's see. Yeah. Alright, actually, let's also take a look at the country just to make sure I hit everything. Okay, fine. Well, that's country in this, but here's my question. That was amateur, we did it. Okay, so we did do all of it. Oh, fittingly ended on UK with Stonehenge then. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to Championship Mode. I'm going to get another car that guzzles fuel worse than a Ford Expedition. Or Ford Excursion, actually. And yeah, that's the one you really want to be saying. 10 miles to the gallon when that car came out. Though it's a massive SUV, so I guess it makes sense, but still. Need something that guzzles fuel quite badly. So let's get that, and let's run in the hardest difficulty with this, and go back to Vegas. See if we feel lucky, feasibly. And then I guess then, you know what, maybe I should put a password in for a longer race where I'll have my gas run out. Alright, we'll do those two things. Let's just start driving. Okay, yeah, this is accelerating much slower. So, okay, so you do get the sense of the acceleration going. Yeah, move the wreck. Yeah, my car is moving like a wreck, and it definitely feels like it's moving weirder. But again, that also goes to another thing, which is the feel of how this is, and the fact that, oh yeah, the other cars are making a difference with that. Alright, so let's see. Oh, alright, I'm realizing the other thing, which is they put up more of those, you know, construction signs here, so you have to kind of drive around them. Alright, so there we go. So that's how they're making this more difficult, which kind of goes to what we were doing with Wave Race last week. We're going on the normal, hard, expert, reverse, but in this case, I don't think we're doing all of these because we're at 3 hours having finished all the other courses, and I'm not good enough at this game. If I was, I would be doing it, but unfortunately, I'm not. Alright. Yeah, I'm barely holding on to get to 5th. Alright. I guess then let's see if the next race has a lot of laps to it. Okay, it's 3. So I guess feasibly we're not going to run into cases of that, although I guess the other thing I'd also do is pick... Actually, no, I could go back to the amateur circuit and just pick a course with a long lap run. And I think I know what I can do. But I'll see how I can go. I'll go until I fail next, and then we'll do that. And then I think we will call from that, because it's a good 3 hours to cover for this. Gotten into covering a lot of this game, showing off what we have, and then also going into the good discussions, which I do love for this show. And thank you very much, chat, for them. Yeah, okay, this is already definitely more difficult because I'm on amateur. I was breaking 20th place pretty quickly, but now I was like, yeah, no, I'm way behind. Even though I am going a lot faster. Whoa! Yeah, and it seems like you're even accelerating really slowly from a really high speed, which is interesting. Usually a lot of the racing games I play, it tends to be... Oh, okay, well, alright, that's the other thing, the hills. Alright, the hills do take into account your speed, because my speed was at 101, and then on the hill area, then it went up really fast. Okay, so yeah, it is taking into account the idea that, you know, going up a hill is going to make you go slower, and going down one is going to make you go way faster. So, as I mentioned, the idea that Gremlin Graphics developed this were thinking about the mechanics of the game, which I think, above anything, is making me impressed with this game even more now that I'm playing it. And again, thank you very much, Blackfirst, for giving me this recommendation once again, and yeah, for helping me to realize that, and making me see, like, okay, I get why people like the Top Gear games. I get why this became sort of a cult hit of sorts on Super Nintendo. I get the idea why Super Nintendo fans were going to be happy to have this as far as a racing game concept. I mean, admittedly, Super Mario Kart got their attention more feasibly and sold better, and more people played it, and I'm just as guilty of that, but still, it's like, yo, burn rubber, okay. Never saw that before. So we're also getting a lot of the nice quotations going on here as well. Actually, I guess, too, that did... Well, we'll find... You know what, I'll leave that as a surprise. When we get to Top Gear 2, see about that. Alright, I got 10th place, so we're going to lose. But we're going to go into something that has long lap, we're gonna run out our gas, and yeah. Sorry, you failed to qualify for the next race. That's alright. I'm having a good time despite that, and even when I'm failing with this game, I'm not feeling upset. I'm not feeling like, oh god, I feel like I'm upset I have to go through it again. So, kudos to the game for doing that. Alright, so, let's go back to amateur one more time. Let's go to, I think Japan had a long lap time. Or a large number of laps on the first race. Let's go here, and we'll go into that. Alright, let's do one more race. Or one more race. Alright, seven laps. Perfect. I'll take another drink of water as we wait. Yeah, you definitely want to have a lot of water whenever you're doing something like this, or if you're like me, where you don't shut up, but apparently you guys like that, guys and gals like that, so thank you for that. Thank you for putting up with it, and I'm glad that you're finding this interesting and fun. Let's go one more time and drain our car of gas. Oh! And hit the Chemco logo. And then hit the, oh right, the festive sled. Oh yeah, alright, fine. Fuck, I guess then. Let's say that. There you go. I'll not censor it specifically, because we're kind of going that with some of the other elements, so. Alright, or it's like Cubert, feasibly, because Cubert's another game, well, earlier even than this, where when you get hit, he feasibly is swearing. I mean, I don't think they actually ever confirmed that he is or not. I know Wreck-It Ralph was having a lot of fun with that perspective, but yeah, he was saying something weird, and he probably was upset he lost, so we'll assume he was swearing, which, actually, I guess then, I may as well go into that as the last element, feasibly, while we drain our gas. Language in games early on when they censored it, which I guess Cubert, I guess this one, and going back to, Sega, I mentioned, Vector Man, but in 95, but also Comic Zone, which has an element where you have a character saying, feasibly, what the hell, it's a sketch turner in Comic Zone at the opening, but they do use those, like, symbols for it. I guess either because they didn't feel like they could use language in the game at the time, or they didn't want it. Or it's like, oh, it's stylistic choice. Because I know there's some games that will have that feasibly going back into the, actually into the Super Nintendo library. Actually, one of those is a game that's on Switch Online. Prehistoric Man from Titus. It's like a prehistoric, you know, a caveman platform game, of which there are a lot of in the 90s. Whether it's Joe and Mac, Chuck Rock, or that one. And I think there's like an in-between cutscene where I think they're saying, like, you failed the damn thing or something. I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was in the original game. Because I never played Prehistoric Man before they ported it to the Switch Online. And there are things coming to the Switch Online next week, although actually, in Japan, one of them is a Shin Megami Tensei game we're not getting. We're getting Claymates, which I never played. Seems Twitch Revo is going to do racing too. Oh, no. Hang on, stop. I don't want to go in the pit. Wait, just keep hitting B. Twitch Revo. Oh, okay. That's another channel, yes? On Twitch? Okay. I'll be curious for that, for sure. Let me know about that. I'll definitely might want to check that out. Well, I get our gas going down, and, hear the beeping of the car outside where I am. Ooh, move the wreck. No, we're gonna drain the gas out of the wreck. Oh, Reploid Revo. Oh, right, yeah. Right. Yeah, I know him. Yeah. Nocturne's a big one into that channel. And I follow it too. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Going to do racing. What racing game did he say he's going to do? He's just going to do more racing elements. Or racing of games that... Okay. So you're on gas, you just sit. Okay. Oh! Do I have gas? Okay, I guess they give you enough to get to the pit with. You know, let's go through this. Let's literally run on fumes. Or if you're a classic music person, running on empty. For all of you Jackson Brown fans, let me check. Okay. Would you let me know? I will not close the show out until I hear back from you, since you said you want to find out and add that to the show. Alright, so let's just sit here with my car out again. Oh, I see, they're hitting me. You know what, let's go off-road. Let's sit in the Chemco logo and just see what happens. Okay, that's probably what happened. I probably just got hit from behind. Beam NG Drive. I think... I'm trying to remember if I've heard that. That sounds familiar. Beam NG Drive. You know what? Well, I guess it's bad form, but I mean, I'll technically look it up now, only because I'm waiting for the race to end, because I'm out of gas and I can't go anywhere. Okay. Alright. Okay, it's a PC racing game. Alright, where they're putting an emphasis on their physics engine. So it looks... Looks interesting. Speaking of which, just going back to this, and I'll figure this out, I just gotta do it. Free-to-play PC racing game, okay. Yeah, it looks like they're saying they're putting emphasis on driving, or on realistic elements of its driving. So, in that case, yeah, I'm almost wondering like they're going the Gran Turismo route, but the idea of the free-to-play concept. But, yeah, it does look really interesting, feasibly. As I said, I'll go back to this one more time. I gotta figure out what I'm doing on PC. I think I should be able to stream to that. I should just play around with it at some point. And just see it. I mean, in fact, I might do at one point. I might at some point during the week just, like, try and connect my PC to it and do a stream. Like, for example, because by the way, if you like what you're seeing, well, A, thank you for liking what you're seeing, and B, I guess if you subscribe to the channel... Okay, God, I'm showing myself so horribly now. It was like, well, subscribing to the channel, you get the emails, like, when the show goes on. But, sorry, now. Okay. Gotcha. Alright. But, alright, when that happens, though, it's like, I might just pop up on during the week, and you'll see that. It'll probably be me testing that. Alright, but we're out of gas. And, yeah, I'm nowhere to be seen on here. Alright, we failed to qualify, but we're fine with that. Okay. So with that, and with, the Replayed Revo stream of BeamNG Drive starting, perfect timing then. Alright, so that was Top Gear for the Super Nintendo from Kemco and Gremlin, released in 1992, and I had a good time with this. Thanks, it was fun, no problem. Anything you want to see, you let me know. And I will play whatever you want to see, and we'll have a good time. And thank you very much again, for this. This was a great time I had. This is a fun game, and one I would recommend for your racing fix on Super Nintendo. Alright, so with that done, before I head off, and before I sign off, let's go into what we're doing over the next couple weeks. Next week, we're coming back to Super Mario RPG for Part 3. Continue that for about 4 hours, and we'll see what's going to go on and where we're going to be at the end of that. So, and the other 2 parts are up on the YouTube site, and this will be up there in a couple of days. Then the week after that, for the next 2 weeks, Super Sonic Game Saturday for August is 2 weeks long. We're doing Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast for both of those weeks. And then we'll also do Mario RPG again. And then the week after that, I don't know. Whatever you want to see? Kingdom Hearts 1. Okay, you want to do Kingdom Hearts 1. When we finish, I'll tell you what we'll do. We finish Mario RPG, we do Kingdom Hearts next. Absolutely. What version? You want to see PS2 or do you want to see Xbox One? Just tell me which one, we'll do it. That'll be our next RPG. Because, like, I want to take somebody else's request for an RPG, and we can do that. So, Kingdom Hearts, perfect. When we finish Mario RPG, we do that, and it fits perfectly because both mashups of Square and another Enterprise. Xbox One, you got it. No problem. If there's stuff with the licensing question, I'll look into that. I'll look into that as we go, but I think we can handle that. They have, like, that rules for streaming thing on the menu for that, but we'll make it happen. You got it, my friend. Thank you very much for showing up tonight. Thank you very much for watching Super Old Game Saturday. And anything else you want to see, we'll get happening. Hope you liked what you're seeing. This will go on the YouTube site in a couple days. Have a nice rest of your night, nice rest of your weekend, nice week coming forward. No, thank you. It's my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure. And I love doing this. And it's good to see you again. And take care of yourself, all right? All right, well, I will see you all next week for Super Mario RPG's 3rd part. Till then, keep being awesome. You are awesome. Thank you very much again for watching the show. I can't say it enough.